Hey, hey, hey. Welcome to another Out of This World compilation from rSpace. My story as a married young man. I'm mostly posting this for my own sanity, and so I can get my story out there. As I don't have anyone in my life I can share it with. Opinions are welcome, but that's not why I'm here. I, 23 male, met my wife, 24 female, when we were both 18. It was honestly a whirlwind romance, and it sucked me in. We met online, had an amazing first date, and it just felt right. I was troubled over a no-contact breakup I had, but she didn't feel like a rebound. Everything was great. We had great sex, my family loved her, and all was good. She ended up moving in with me temporarily after 2 months of dating due to other circumstances outside her control, and there were no problems at all. She fit into my life great. We got engaged at 6 months, married a little after a year together, at a small ceremony, and life felt sweet. She had baggage that I was aware of, but not to the extent as I had previously thought. She had trauma from a parent passing, as well as clinical depression. It was managed with medication and wasn't a big deal. Almost 6 months pass, and it quickly becomes less sweet. We were involved in a motor vehicle accident that resulted in her requiring back surgery. It took a huge mental toll on her, worsening her depression. While her surgery was successful, it still left her with significant pain. I was the best husband I could be. I accompanied her to every doctor's appointment and physical therapy session. I helped with lawyer stuff for the lawsuit stemming from the accident. I held down the finances as the only working person in the relationship. Sex became difficult for her to enjoy due to both her depression and being in physical pain during. We ended up only having mediocre sex very sporadically for the next year or so, maybe once every 2 weeks, sometimes once a month. At this point, a year and a half into marriage and a year post-accident, she brings up the idea of open relationships and threesomes, something we had talked about on occasion but never deeply discussed and considered. She wanted to start with a threesome and said she would feel comfortable doing it with someone she had already been with and suggested her ex. I should have taken it as a sign, but I didn't. She starts hanging out with aforementioned ex, and I didn't object as I don't like being a possessive person and trusted her. After a week or so, I get a random Facebook message from someone saying they saw my wife with the ex and that they were doing stuff. No further elaboration, no other messages. I asked her about it, and she says the girl who messaged me was just obsessed with her ex and was jealous they were hanging out. I did what I always did, which was believe and trust her. A month later, while we were laying in bed in the morning, I watched a random YouTube video that related to cheating somehow. She starts crying and confesses that she ended up having sex with her ex and that she couldn't keep it to herself anymore after a month of deceit. I believe it was genuine disdain for her own actions and guilt, not just an act. She swore up and down that they only had the sort of contact the one time, and that it was very dissatisfying. I tried my best to forgive her and not come to terms with what happened. She was my best friend. I had to try, but it was clear that she used the threesome discussion just to have another romp with her ex. She didn't want to have sex with me often, but it was worth physical pain for her to go out of her way to screw him. That was now 2.5 years ago. Her depression deeply worsened, has crippling guilt and remorse over her actions. I feel entirely detached from her, and I'm only with her because I feel it was the right thing to try and push through. I did have a night of bad feelings and read her text to her best friend. It was clear that although she only had sex with him once, they had done things short of having sex a few times before it that she never mentioned. She has one friend. My family is more of a family than her own to her. Can't work because of her back, and has had suicidal thoughts in the past. I felt that if I left, she would not make it, and I could not live with myself if I did that to her. I couldn't uproot and ruin her life. Wanted a few times to have some sort of relationship to distract me from it all, but nothing would ever really help. And that only serves to make me a cheater too. I just don't understand how I could have been so naive. I've never been able to tell anyone because it would bring repercussions to her, and I can't talk to her about it because it would shatter her, and I can't ruin her like she did me. I feel broken. Update. I told her how I felt. I told her about all the hurt, confusion, and despair I felt. She nearly passed out when she finally understood how she silenced me and separated me from support. We are going to try and have booked a counseling session for the both of us. I spoke with a good friend of mine about it yesterday for the first time ever, and I've never cried in front of a friend before then. He helped me come to the conclusion that if I don't feel differently after a few months of counseling, then I'm going to need to distance myself. I feel guilt, I feel regret, and I feel shame. It doesn't feel like my life anymore. Our first community reaction comes from David Walker 0009. You need to prioritize yourself. If you are miserable, end the relationship. She has no one to blame but herself. T. Charq says, never light yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Another thought from Director 20530. She is no longer your concern. Contact a lawyer and start the divorce process. If she can screw her ex, she can take care of herself without your help. Don't forget to secure your finances. Transfer your direct deposit to an individual account and change your passwords. One more thought from Maybe Someday 086. You can't live your life for her. You can't be second to her because of her choices. Yes, she's got health and mental problems, but she'd still have them with anyone else. It can't be fixed with you just exiting and unhappy. She needs to take every step possible to get into a better place. You can't do it for her. Any mental health problem is an explanation, but it's not an excuse. Your mental health is at stake if you stay. It's 2.5 years and you're not doing any better. Nothing has changed, so it will not get worse. She also wasn't truthful and still hid things from you, so there's no way for trust to be rebuilt. She has friends and family, so she has options, and it's irrelevant to the situation as to how close she is to them. Why do you need to be her secret keeper when it stops you from using your own support system? Talk to someone. Friends and family that care about you aren't interested in the picture perfect. They want to know you're okay and help if you're not. Please get help and do whatever will bring you peace and happiness. You're so young and have a lot of years left. You need to decide if they are going to be as bad as the last two. I think your friend is right, OP. You're giving it a shot, and that's the best you can do. If both you and your partner want to take the necessary steps to heal from an affair, it can be done, but it's going to be a long road. There has to be honesty. More specifically, there has to be honesty and transparency in why it happened. This is the hardest step and will largely dictate whether or not you'll both be able to move forward. People can make poor choices at times. The question then becomes, does that poor choice and/or symptoms now have to dictate the future of a relationship? The answer largely depends on the motivating factors behind the affair. Underlying unmet needs in the relationship, poor communication, attachment difficulties, and antiquated gender roles can all be impetus for an affair. Infidelity is very complex. There's a lot of depth and complexity to why people might cheat and how you can find a way back to each other. Why did this happen? Where was the breakdown? What was it in our relationship that ultimately caused you to have an open door for someone else to walk into it? Having that insight in your relationship is going to be important. Give OP some of your best advice in the comments below. Next, don't mix business with pleasure. I should have known. This is kind of a wild ride. I, 28 female, work with this guy, 34 male, and I've known him for 2 years, and he was having marriage issues. He and his wife were separated at the time. They have 2 kids. She had cheated on him multiple times, and he had had enough apparently. So that being said, he approached me and asked if we could hang out, and I said sure, why not? So, from that moment, we talked every day, rode to work together, everything normal couples do. For 9 months, we were together. It was long enough to say I love you and cry on each other's shoulder, and it was great. I thought I had found the perfect man. I trusted him so much. All he talked about the entire time we were together was honesty and trust. He told me he's been hurt, so it'll take time, but I stood by him. I helped him move into his new apartment. I checked on him at work every day, asked if he needed anything all the time. I took care of him and treated him with respect and gratitude because he was so kind to me. We went through a lot together, and just about a month ago, I noticed a change in him. He was short with me and quiet. I always felt like I was bothering him when I would check on him at work. I always asked him what was wrong, and he would turn it around and say, "Well, what's wrong with you?" So I would drop it. I felt insecure about our future then. I felt sick. I knew something was going on, but I couldn't place it. The phone calls became less and less, and I would call him all the time just for it to go to voicemail, or he would call back hours later. So he told me he wanted to take a break. To me, that's not a good sign. But he was going through a separation still, and he said he needed to focus on his kids. I understood that completely and even told him his kids were his number one priority. I don't fault him there. How could I? I knew what I was getting into. So I agreed, and we didn't ride together anymore, and we didn't hang out or have sex or anything. But one weekend, he came over and expected us to have sex, and we did, so I assumed we were all right. The break was over? But I was wrong. He went back to being cold and quiet towards me, less touchy, and he said he loved me that night. I was confused. We went to work. I met him there, said, "Hey, What's up with the whole thing? And that day, I was fed up with him and the way he was acting. I went to lunch with him and I confronted him about the break again. It's still a break, right? He told me yes, officially a break, not a breakup. So I was upset and left him there alone. I went back to my desk and I didn't have much to do, so I just sat there with a blank stare. My friend, 21 female, came up to me and asked what was up, and I told her, guy trouble. She said, okay. Anybody I know? I said, yeah, that guy over there, 34 male, and I pointed him out, and she gasped. I said, yeah, we've been together for 8 or 9 months. She smiled and she talked to me about him. I never would have thought. She said, and I smiled at her, yeah, he's a great guy. He's very kind and he's a good dad too. Well, she leaves and goes up to him, says something, and me and the guy don't ride together anymore, so it's time to clock out, so I leave. He calls me an hour later and asks if I set him up. I told him no, I just told the truth. Well, it turned out he had been cheating on me with my friend, 21 female, and she didn't know about me. He told her we were just friends. He had no feelings for me and that I just gave him advice. So he told me sorry and he was scared because I was too good to him. Doesn't make sense, and he wouldn't give me a time frame, but yeah, I feel stupid and used. Me and my friend, who I don't blame at all, I believe her because of her genuine reaction to my telling her. We talked a lot and I got a lot of information from her, and he has lied so much it's crazy. I'm mind blown. He told her all kinds of the same things he told me. I yelled at him. I cussed him. He was using me this whole time. I'm sure he never even loved me. I told him we're done. I can't be with him. I feel sick for having trusted him. I blocked him and deleted his number. I want nothing to do with him. I'm just trying to get past the overthinking part and start again. I hate him for making me feel this way. If you've been cheated on before, why would you do it to another? He ruined my trust in people, that's for sure. All I know is, I dodged a bullet. Our first community reaction comes from straight out of the 70s. I'm seriously doubting that his wife was the problem or serial cheater in that marriage. Next comment from Kitchen Ferret 2752. You did the right thing by blocking his number. Make sure you avoid him at work or get another job. Don't go back to him. He might have even been lying about his ex-wife. Maybe he was the one cheating on her and she found out. It takes time to heal, but you will be fine. The OP responds, to make this clear also, the only reason he found out the jig was up is because my friend confronted him and he had no choice but to come clean to both of us. I was trying very hard to keep us together. I know now that you can't fix someone who doesn't want to heal. You can't force them. I asked what was he thinking? Why? And he said he didn't know, that he had a problem. I feel he was using his kids and the break to cheat and lie to both of us. Just break up with me. He didn't even care about his kids. He cared about screwing. That's where he invested his time. But yes, I'm thinking it wasn't just his wife. I've heard her admit to him before that she's cheated on him during a conversation on the phone. But anyway, he's useless to me. I had to go to work that same night, but I went and smiled and didn't even look at him. I mostly talked to my friend who was majorly screwed over too. I apologized to her, and we have a mutual understanding and respect, and I told her to be careful if you go back. Who knows what she'll decide. This is not your fault at all, OP, and thank God you found out before you started wasting any more time on him. He got caught red-handed. It sucks that you both still have to work together. That might make things complicated. You seem like such a good person, and he took advantage of that. This guy sounds like a serial cheater. In the beginning, these types of people are often friendly, charming, and come off as non-threatening. They might start out making idle conversation, and some of them will openly discuss their ex-wives or marital problems. They begin to groom their intended targets by showering them with compliments, acting as a shoulder to lean on, or even playing the victim. They feed off of the chase. I'm so happy you got out when you did, and you're free to live your life without that BS cheater. What's your experience with serial cheaters? Lastly, we have our very own Tinder swindler. My coworker just showed me my boyfriend of a year and a half's Tinder profile. At the end of my shift, she came up to me to show me. I thought it was a nice gesture since if she were to have told me earlier, I would have been so worked up and unable to even think clearly. I left and immediately he came to my house to pick up. I confronted him as soon as we got in the car. We spend literally every day together, so I know he's not sleeping with these women. And he claims he doesn't even talk to these women. He just swiped because he likes the validation. He tells me he would never act on anything because he loves me and would never want to lose what he has with me. It's true, I'm probably one of the best things that's ever happened to him. He's apologetic and he's not really a liar, so I believe his story. But even then, it really, really hurts. He says he never even uses it, and it's just a game for him to make him feel better. I can't really tell if I'm being cheated on. I asked him to stop, but he and I were already back to normal, but I don't know. Thoughts? Was I cheated on? Ask a question, here's some answers. Dinkinflicka84 says, this happened to me and I believed his lies. Turns out, he was cheating the entire time. Brazen Tory chimes in, he made you look and feel like a fool in front of your coworkers. His so-called validation should come from having an honest, healthy relationship. Anyone who needs outside validation from strangers should not be in a committed relationship. Not convinced yet? Create a fake Tinder profile and give him some validation. Al Milano says, it's just a game? Yeah, Candy Crush is a game, not Tinder. Super red flag. Everyone knows what Tinder is for. UrsaPay24Y says, yes, he is cheating. Emotional affair is still cheating, and it always gets physical. He is playing nice because he got caught. If you're the best thing that happened to him, then there is no reason for him to be on Tinder. He is gaslighting you. I would check other social media out to see if you can find anything else. It sounds like the trust is broken, and you'll always wonder what he is doing. It is your decision, but I would leave him and find someone that you deserve. Puzzleheaded Ice 445 chimes in next. If he needs constant validation from other women than you, does he respect you? Does he value you as much as you think he does? I don't think so. You're being naive. I'm sorry. You said it yourself, OP. You're the best thing that's ever happened to him. Drop that little monster and find someone who's going to worship the ground you walk on. Those dating sites and apps are built for one thing and one thing only. You know exactly what he's doing on there. Time to cut him loose. You be the judge.
My boyfriend suggested a polyamorous relationship, so I left him. I, 24 female, was dating my 27 male ex-boyfriend for 2 years. Last year we started talking about getting married, if we wanted to stay in the state, regular future stuff. The past few months I've tried to bring up engagement, rings, time frames, and he doesn't seem interested at all. He shuts me down and says we have enough time. He was once so excited about it. Which brings me to 2 weeks ago. He sat me down and out of the blue he asked about a polyamory and that he thinks it'll be good for us so we can build our bond closer. I'm like, how does bringing someone else in a relationship for you work on us? And he goes, she wouldn't interfere with us. Jess knows I love you and I want to get married to you. She will bow out at any moment. Jess is a girl he's known since they were in middle school. She recently started working at his company, and I guess their friendship has rekindled. I got up and went to pack a bag. He asked me what I was doing, and I told him I was done. He started panicking and saying it was a joke. She was interested in one, but he wasn't. I didn't want to hear it anymore. He asked why was I freaking out, and I told him, I know how this goes. You randomly bring up polyamory, you've already cheated, or you're going to cheat if I say no, so I'm done. I left to go back to my place. I'm working on my master's, so I decided to keep my apartment to study even after we moved in, and I was going to move in permanently 2 months before I graduated because my lease would be over. He was blowing up my phone and telling me he's sorry, then he'd flip to calling me all types of nasty names to, I should have had sex with her when I had the chance. I blocked him. He showed up at my place 2 days later begging me to come back. I asked him to let me search his phone and his face went pale. He let me check, and he was good at deleting things, but not deleting what he deleted. They were flirting. He brought it up after she got feelings for him and he felt bad. So he told her I'd be okay with an open relationship. Surprise, surprise. I told him to get out and I'm done. Our mutual friends, I should say only 3 people, 3 were my friends and the other 4 and him I met through my best friend's brother. No one was on my side except my best friend, her girlfriend, and my best friend's brother. Are telling me I'm overreacting, and it was just a suggestion, and a suggestion doesn't mean he's cheated or is going to cheat, and a lot of people open up their relationships. I told them, when we got together it was clear I was looking for a monogamous relationship and partner, and he feels like I'm not enough, and I won't wait to find out in 5 years that he's been cheating and I have to go through divorce. I told them if any of them bring up to me after this, I'll cut contact with them too. I've gotten a few comments in my posts saying that I'm shaming people who are poly. I'm not doing that. I said it's not something for me. I am monogamous and want a monogamous relationship and a partner. I made that clear from the beginning that I did not want an open poly relationship and cheating was a deal breaker for me. And he messed up both of those at one time. If having multiple partners is for you and that works for you, I'm glad that it works for you. I'm not trying to shame anyone out of it. This is just personally not for me. Also, it's way more than he wanted a poly relationship or just thought it up. He was already cheating on me, and then he already had someone in mind. Wanting to explore that option, he would have came to me and said, I want to try this, not just says she. Because if this is something that you randomly started wanting to explore, you wouldn't have a person in mind already. That's not how you bring up wanting to bring in more partners. You don't cheat and then try to manipulate the situation so your partner's okay with it. And now some feedback from the community. First up, good for you. Just tell him he is free to be with Jess now or any other girl he wants. He got what he wanted, so he should be happy. You will find someone who considers you enough. You deserve nothing less. Get rid of the friends who don't support you. Someone else chimes in, I don't know if I'm more disappointed in the boyfriend or the lack of support from your friend. This get over it, you're overreacting mindset triggers the F out of me. Do they not understand that he was already emotionally cheating the moment he started flirting and encouraging a sexual relationship with the other woman? Girl, you handled that situation like a freaking queen. Love it. The classic, let's spice up our relationship by adding a third wheel move. If I wanted a threesome, I'd have ordered pizza. Kudos to you for having the backbone to pack your bags and leave the dumpster fire of a relationship. It takes guts to walk away from someone who thinks commitment is just a word in the dictionary, and those friends, they sound like about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. Who needs them? Certainly not you. So here's to purging the poison from your life, whether it's in the form of a deceitful boyfriend or a squad of unsupportive spectators. May your circle be small but mighty, filled with people who lift you higher instead of dragging you down into the depths of drama. Do you think OP blew it up out of proportion? Have you ever been in a similar situation? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. Up next, OP divorces his wife for trying to turn their marriage into a game of hide and seek. Am I the a-hole for calling divorce immediately after finding out my wife emotionally cheated on me? I found out my wife was cheating on me emotionally last week. I found it through a notification when she was in the shower. We were both 33 and married for 6 years. In my eyes, everything was good. Funny how one can hide their betrayal without the other party noticing. I confronted her right away and told her to open the phone to show me the messages. She refused first, but gave up after I told her we were getting a divorce. The texts were not that old, and there were not that many. It was obvious most of the texts were deleted. I asked her questions about the affair: why, who, where, how. I will not go into the details as I want it to stay anonymous, but I was trickle-truthed in the end. She got caught and trickle-truthed me. I do not believe her and what she said about the extent they went. At the beginning of our relationship, I made it very clear that cheating in any form is a relationship ender. I told her to get a lawyer because we were getting divorced. She asked for marriage counseling, promised to change and even make her life completely dependent on me, leave the job, not leave the house, and give me all of her digital devices. I told her where marriage counseling would have helped was before she decided to have an affair. We could go to marriage counseling and solve the problem there by talking whichever problem she had. Instead, she went on to have an emotional affair and made sure to actively hide things from me by deleting texts and trickle-truthing. I reminded her my boundaries and what I told her about them in the beginning of the relationship. I will hand the divorce papers to her this month, and she is telling me to reconsider. Am I the a-hole in this situation? The OP was not the a-hole based on the comments, along with a few "you're the a-holes" and non-a-holes. Now for some relevant comments. First one, not the a-hole, but you do seem to be rushing things. You might want to take a little while to think things through and let her feelings sit. What do you lose by waiting until the end of next month instead? To which the OP replies, I do not have to wait an extra month and live in the same house with her. Someone else chimes in, if you made your boundaries very clear to her and you are sure that she broke them, why are you here? If you do go to marriage counseling, be prepared to hear some things about yourself that you might not want to hear. The OP replies, on one side, my logic wants to get validated while my heart wants to hold on to a hope. Last week has not been easy for me. Love is there, but trust is not. Plus, getting to write it here is relaxing. I'll probably hear about these in the individual therapy. Thanks for the comment. Another person says, not the a-hole, but if the affair has been brief, what led up to it? This may require you to take a hard look at yourself. And the OP responds, she told me she felt lost in the part of her life, midlife crisis, and wanted attention from others. One more person had this to add. In my eyes, everything was good. Funny how one can hide their betrayal without the other party noticing. Funny how the other partner can be super unhappy without the other noticing at all. Not an a-hole. And yeah, this version of your marriage is over. Good for you to realize she chose to end it. The OP replied, she told me she felt lost in her life and wanted attention from others. I do not think that's anything to do with unhappiness in the marriage unless she lied. I guess you can never know the problem unless the other party communicates. Surprising. Let's give credit where it's due. Confronting the issue head on takes courage. It's not easy to face the reality of infidelity, especially when you thought everything was peachy keen. And as for the marriage counseling plea and promises of change, well, it's a classic move when caught red-handed. But sometimes the trust is too shattered to piece back together, no matter how many apologies are offered. As for the rush to divorce, sometimes it's about self-preservation. Living under the same roof with the person who shattered your trust can feel like navigating a minefield in slippers. So no, OP, you're not the a-hole here. You're just someone who's setting boundaries and choosing to prioritize your own well-being. And that's something worth applauding. Update. It's 100% divorce now. I think I was looking to relax and validate my logic with that post. Love is there, but trust is broken. My heart told me to have a hope, but my logic told me to divorce. Logic won in the end. It has been over a week now, and I still do not get the full information about the affair. Yesterday night and this morning after the post, I came to learn new information about the affair. I'm still not sure if it's the full extent. To clarify the emotional affair part, they sexted, sent nudes to each other, and there were I love yous involved. If it's not cheating, I don't know what it is. Whatever. I still do not know the full truth, and she refuses disclosing who exactly this affair partner is. My trust level for her is so low that she could say the sky is blue and I would doubt it. This relationship is just over, dead. I will go ahead and with the divorce as soon as possible so I can process my feelings alone after she leaves. Some people told me I would not be able to find anyone at 33 as a male. This is the last thing I worry about with after divorce. First thing is to get over the relationship and put myself together better than ever. I'm planning on starting individual therapy right after I sort things out. I can date after that easily. Hope seeing you with a happy divorce update and in a better mood. Now for some other relevant comments. First one, making that decision and sticking to it is very difficult. You've made the first step, and that's amazing. You probably will never find out the full truth. I'm divorcing my wife now for very similar circumstances. You'll find someone else at 33. There's literally billions of fish in the sea. The OP responds, I totally agree. 33, looking good, feeling good, earning good, attentive. I think people who told this are incels, and they are projecting their situation. Someone else has this to say. Good on you for making a decision. Honestly, the nudes are for sure divorce-worthy, and you are right in getting a divorce. Even if there was no sex, she was clearly wanting it to be physical if there were nudes involved. So I'm glad you found the truth and are deciding to do what's best for you by getting a divorce from the woman you clearly can't trust. The OP replies, I believe trust is the foundation of human relationship. It's just impossible for me to get back from this. I love her and it deeply hurts now, but I do not believe I will ever trust her. One more last comment. She won't tell you who a affair partner is, but you have his nude pics he sent your wife? That should help identify him. The OP replies, I do not have the photos, but just the replies to them. Photos were deleted. It's obvious there were nudes involved, but all of them were deleted. Who needs trust when you've got a treasure trove of half-truths and deleted nudes to sift through? It's like a scavenger hunt for the emotionally scarred. Deciding to call it quits when trust is shattered beyond repair takes a strength not everyone possesses. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid. It's painful at first, but ultimately freeing. And let's not forget the importance of self-respect. By choosing to walk away, you're saying, I deserve better, in the loudest possible way. Because let's face it, nobody deserves to be stuck in a relationship where loyalty is as rare as a unicorn sighting. Am I the a-hole for refusing a threesome with my girlfriend's best friend? My girlfriend and her best friend have been friends for almost their entire adult lives, and they've had threesomes with previous partners, on both their sides. Now, I didn't know this until recently, as my girlfriend mentioned this like a week or so before she asked me to, if I wanted. Now, this may be where I messed up, but my immediate answer was, F no, I'm never doing that. I'm very monogamous, and I'll be honest, the idea of being shared or sharing simply grosses me out. I don't think it's morally wrong or anything, but it's just not for me. Apparently, my girlfriend told her best friend, and now the best friend is offended. My girlfriend says I should apologize to her, but I don't think I did anything wrong here. Maybe I could have used better words, but it's not like the best friend heard me. There's no consensus spot on Am I the A-hole, but top comments were not the a-hole. Update post, March 11th, 2024. 2 days later. Hello everyone. I figured I should post an update after all the advice you all gave me. So to start off, I had a talk with my girlfriend and cleared some things up. I told her I wasn't sorry for my decision or my reaction, but I told her it had nothing to do with her friend. I told her it didn't matter whom she suggested, it would have been a no. Something I didn't think about that you all mentioned is what would happen if her friend asked for a threesome with her boyfriend. The friend is single right now, so it's not a current issue. I asked my girlfriend what would happen if her friend asked though. She said she thought it'd be cool as the previous boyfriends were, but after seeing my reaction, she knows I wouldn't approve. She then asked me why I didn't want a threesome with 2 women. I told her I don't like the idea of having sex with anyone but her. I asked if she needed to have threesomes to be satisfied. She tried to dodge the question and said, I mean, they're just fun, and it's become a habit by now. I told her it was a yes or no question. She still wouldn't give me a straight answer. I decided that our sexual needs are just too different and broke up with her. I'm sad that out of everything that could cause a breakup, this was it. Me not wanting to have sex with someone other than my girlfriend. Also, to answer some of the comments, no, the friend wasn't ugly. Here's some relevant comments. First up, when telling a story like this, people will want to know what your girlfriend's reaction was when you broke up with her. The OP replied, she was upset and confused. She said that makes no sense for a guy to turn down sex with 2 girls, and even less sense to break up over it. More from the OP. I'm a demisexual, I think that's the term. I only feel sexually attracted to people I have an emotional connection with. Do you avoid relationships with other women altogether then? No. See, even if I become attracted to another woman, that doesn't mean I'm gonna pursue anything. I mean, non-demis still get attracted to strangers at the bar or something. That doesn't mean they're gonna cheat on their spouse. You're not the a-hole here at all, OP. Who knew the saying no to a threesome could lead to a breakup? But hey, as they say, different strokes for different folks. And if those strokes involve sticking to one partner at a time, then more power to you, OP. Here's to hoping your next relationship comes with a lot less threesomes and a lot more understanding. Kudos to you, OP, for showing us all that sometimes it's better to be alone than to compromise your values. Who needs love when you've got principles, right? What do you think? Was OP right to break up with her girlfriend? Up next, OP grapples with the consequence of infidelity and the fallout of confessing to a failing marriage. I, 38 female, had an affair with my coworker, 44 male. First off, I apologize if I'm doing this wrong. First-time poster. I think I did the flare thing right. Anyway, me, 38 female, and my spouse, 42 male, have been married for 10 years. Unfortunately, our sex life hasn't been very good for a while now. I've tried talking to address the lack of affection, but there has been no improvement. This caused a lot of issues. We get along, but I felt unsatisfied and even resentful. Basic affection almost non-existent, and if we do have sex, it's just about him getting off. I have a coworker, 44 male, who started lightly flirting last year. We would talk a bit in passing. Talking turned into flirting, but eventually we crossed the line in January. From there, it was an on and off affair. Obviously, this wasn't the right thing to do. I told the coworker it was over last week and am now working on fixing my marriage, reconciling and moving forward. It's a terrifying feeling, but necessary. I guess I just wanted to let this out. I didn't want to make this too long, but I'll answer whatever questions are asked. And of course, there's a question. It goes like this. Have you given your spouse agency? Is he aware you've cheated? Relationship problems are 50-50, but affairs are not. That's 100% on you and you alone. A dead bedroom is a reason to leave if talking about it does not change anything. There's no justified excuse for cheating. First of all, stop making excuses and just try to act nonchalant about it. What you're doing is wrecking someone's life. If you're having intimacy problems, you have to talk to your spouse about it and work it out between the two of you. Don't bring in a third who will scratch your itch. Update. My 38 female confession couldn't have gone any worse. So to recap, I, 38 female, had an affair with my coworker, 44 male, after having a dead bedroom with my husband, 42 male. This had been going on for about 4 years. Felt like roommates. No affection, rarely sex, and it was just about him getting off. I cried, begged for him to come to counseling and tried fixing it any way I could. He brushed it off. Then I started an affair that's been going on throughout this year. No, I'm not excusing what I've done, just giving context to the road traveled. So I decided to tell my husband. I accepted the fact that my marriage won't improve and that I just have false hope, and it would be best to let him know what I've done and accept that divorce is most likely the next step. I wrote 2 letters, one that would be very detailed and one that would skim over details. I planned on letting him choose which one he wanted, as suggested by others. This didn't go as planned at all. I told him I needed to talk to him, that it was important. He said okay, in a minute. He was tinkering with his motorcycle. Didn't want to push because I was really nervous. But when he was done, he was in the living room watching TV. I approached and told him we needed to talk. He said, "What do you want? I'm watching TV." I told him it's important. He said, "Can it wait?" I walked off. An hour goes by and I go downstairs and he's gone. I call him and ask him where he was. He said he went to his friend's house. I said, "Why would you just leave when I said we needed to talk?" He said, "Geez, relax, we can talk later." I hung up and started packing. I've been brushed off so many times during our marriage and I'm done with it. Called my best friend who knew everything and had even tried talking to him for me a few times about the neglect I felt. She said if I needed to, I could move in with her. So that was now the plan. Husband gets back while I'm still packing and asks what I'm doing. I said I'm leaving. He said, "What the hell is your problem?" This is when I lost it. Again, not saying this is okay, but this shows the amount of anger and resentment that I have. I didn't realize just how much resentment I had built up. I don't yell, but I began yelling at the top of my voice. "I'm effing done. I'm done being your effing roommate. I'm done begging you to show affection. I'm done begging to talk to you. I'm done trying to fix things by myself." "Geez, you're so dramatic. Heaven forbid I can relax for a bit." "All you do is relax. That's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm not bugging you anymore." "God, what is it?" "Don't worry about it. You never worried about it. I've laid next to you crying my eyes out, begging for you to give a dang. Begging you to just hold me, kiss me, hug me, hell, F me consistently. I've begged you to come to counseling or do anything that would show I'm not in this alone." "Oh, here we go. Boo-hoo. If you're so unhappy, how about you find someone else to screw around with?" "I have." "What?" "Since January." "Are you serious?" "Oh, now you care? Now that someone else has been doing what you were supposed to be doing, now you care? Nah, boo-hoo, right?" The screaming match continued, and I showed him the letters that I had wrote, but just said bluntly what I had been doing. Again, I never yelled, but I lost it. This was years of frustration triggered by being brushed off yet again. My best friend showed up. We were still arguing. Grabbed my bags and left. I was still going off in the car the entire ride. When we got to her place, I fell to my knees and started screaming, "This isn't what I wanted," over and over. Just completely broke. Because this really isn't what I wanted. I was so beyond happy when we got married. We were so in love. I don't know why it changed, and at this point it didn't matter. It was dead, and I helped kill it. My hope died right then, too. People say, "Why don't you just leave?" It was hope, as silly as you may think it is. It was hope that things would change. Even when you know it's unrealistic, you make yourself believe that maybe things can get back to where they were. I always felt guilty, but also always felt neglected, brushed aside and pushed away. This made me angrier than I realized. My best friend just held me and tried to calm me down. I napped, was so exhausted emotionally, felt sick and nervous about the argument, but there's no coming back from that. Went back this morning to grab the rest of my stuff. He made some sly comments which I ignored. Just told him I would be staying with my friend permanently, but will continue paying my half of the bills until things are settled. Would be unfair to leave him to pay everything. He said, "You're probably gonna be staying with some guy." I just responded with, "Whatever, bye." The reality is that I should have left a long time ago. Instead, I stayed and became something I never wanted to be. But again, saying, "just leave," is so easy until it's you in that situation. This was supposed to be forever, but nope. So yeah, that's my update. I apologize if this is long or unclear or anything. Also apologize if this is triggering, but again, just goes to show how bad things got. This is my reality. And now for some community feedback. First up, I get how leaving rather than cheating is easier. Most cheating is just the easier path if we are being honest with ourselves, said than done, though millions of people do it every year. But it would be easier to be sympathetic if your affair partner wasn't married. Even separated, he is still married. You got yourself a real crap show on your hands now, and pretty much everyone involved is crappy or has done crappy things. But we are all of us responsible for our actions, and you choosing to have an affair with a married man, separated or not, is a serious lapse in judgment and character. Hope you choose your path forward with more consideration. I also wish you luck, because at the very least, now that the crap is exposed, you can all move towards being better people. Next comment. Not saying what you did was right, but telling your significant other you need to talk and them blowing you off means they don't care about you. You're both better off without one another. Try to move on and let him do the same. One more comment. Here's my problem. I know you said it was easier said than done, but the same confrontation you had with your confession is the same confrontation you should have had before you cheated. Easier said than done is a cop-out. You just did it, and now you have the cheater label for the rest of your life, and he will let everyone know you left him for another man. If he finds out who your married affair partner is, he will tell his wife as well, and now you just possibly ended 2 marriages. So what's easier? Confronting him, telling him to change or divorce, and have an extramarital affair with lies and effing another woman's husband? Sorry, I get he was an a-hole, but what did she do to you exactly? The classic blame game. Because clearly the best way to handle a failing marriage is to point fingers and assign fault like it's a game of hot potato. What's introspection and self-awareness when you can just blame each other for everything that's gone wrong? Who knew that till death do us part actually meant till someone else comes along? You certainly stirred up a hornet's nest of ethical dilemmas. On one hand, you were clearly feeling neglected and unfulfilled in your marriage, and communication with your spouse seemed to have hit a dead end. It's understandable that you reached a breaking point and felt the need to confront your partner about the state of your relationship. However, choosing to have an affair as a solution to marital problems is generally not considered the right course of action.
My husband's open marriage suggestion backfired on him. My husband, Leo, 34 male, and I, 30 female, have been together for 7 years, married for 4 of them. We don't have any kids, and we don't intend to. 2 years ago, Leo asked me for an open marriage. I was devastated at the time. I couldn't understand why he didn't just want me. I couldn't even comprehend the idea of sharing him either. He gave me the same song and dance a lot of men give their spouses. He swore up and down that he loved me. I just wasn't fulfilling his needs. He needed more than what I could give. It was just to spice up our life. It was just sex, etc., etc. I did ask if there was someone else. He said no. To this day, I'm still not sure if I believed him, but at the time, I was angry and hurt and said no. He pestered me to change my mind for a week before giving me an ultimatum: open marriage or divorce. I chose the open marriage. I just couldn't bear the thought of him leaving me at the time. We have rules. We can't bring any partners home. We have to get tested for STDs every 3 months. 1 weekend out of the month must be left free for us time. Any money we spend on with our partners must come from our personal accounts. I didn't partake in the open marriage myself for the first 3 months. Leo obviously did right away. He seemed to be gone or out late almost all the time. But he always acted so happy and loving towards me while I felt like I was dying inside. It killed me to think he was sleeping with other women, and I felt so lonely and unattractive and not good enough. I told my sister, Katie, 26 female, and a few close friends everything. Katie told me to just play his game and be part of the open marriage too. If he can sleep around, so could I. I honestly didn't have much confidence in myself at the time. I'm a bit overweight, and I've never considered myself conventionally pretty. I was afraid this would just humiliate me further. Katie and my best friend Jessie, 30 female, set up my online dating profiles for me. I got so many matches that it was overwhelming. When I told Leo, he was surprised, but told me to do whatever I thought was best. Jessie helped me choose my first date, and I actually had a great time. He didn't pressure me for sex and took me out to drinks and dinner. We did have sex eventually, but it was all just casual, and we didn't see each other after a couple months of casual dating. That first guy really made me feel more confident in myself, so I kept going on dates with men. A lot of them wanted to treat me, so I didn't have to spend much of my own money. Not only that, but some of the men have given me the best sex I've ever had in my life. Almost like the kind of sex you read in romance novels. It's been amazing. I'm currently seeing 2 different men alongside Leo. One, Mark, 38 male, is more of a steady boyfriend I've been with for about 6 months, and the one, Steven, 25 male, is very casual, mostly just hanging out and sex. They know about my open marriage, other relationships, and are fine with it. My husband has not been so lucky. In the beginning, he definitely was. He's always out and about and didn't seem to care even when I started dating too. But now he just complains a lot and hasn't been going out much. He whines about how he's usually the one spending money. A lot of the women he tries to be with want an emotional connection before sex. He often wants to be with younger women, but they want younger men. He's also been upset that I go out with random guys, so often while he's at home alone all the time. He hasn't asked to close the marriage yet, but I feel like he will soon. He keeps saying he misses us and wants to spend more time together. He tries to initiate sex a lot more too. He wants to go on dates and go on vacations and all that stuff more and more. And he gets upset when I tell him I can't because I've already scheduled to do stuff with my partners, mostly Mark. Honestly, I don't think I love Leo anymore. I care about him, but I just don't love him. I'm not saying I love Mark or Steven, but I honestly feel closer to Mark nowadays than I do Leo. Mark makes me feel comfortable and safe, and I love spending time with him more than my own husband. Steven is funny and sweet and really good at sex. Katie and Jesse have been wanting me to divorce him for a year now, but I was afraid of hurting him and thought I still loved him. But I think my love for him died when he asked for this open marriage in the first place. Seeing him get all pissy about it now just because he's not benefiting from it is also a turnoff for me too. But I don't know if divorce is the best option. I still care about him and I still don't want to hurt him. Maybe if he finally asks to close the marriage, we can talk about it then. Let's check with the community for some relevant comments. First up, divorce. You're happier without him. He would only want to close the marriage because he can't get laid, not that he only loves you. The OP replies, we've just been together for so long that the idea of him not being there feels weird, which sounds stupid since I have 2 other partners, so it's not like I'll be lonely. But Leo was a part of my life for so long that for him to not be there just doesn't feel right. But you're probably right. The OP on her husband dismissing her feelings regarding the open marriage. I really do think Leo does love me in his own way. Even when he was more active in the open marriage, he still made time for me and still did a lot with him for me. But you're probably right on the divorce. The next person chimes in, part of the issue is the main relationship is supposed to be the important one, so the whole 1 weekend a month for us time wasn't enough. The OP replies, I actually did argue that in the beginning, but he insisted that he needed to keep his weekends free. He did spend a lot of time at home during the weekdays, so in his mind, that made up for it. Someone else chimes in, what if he finds evidence of your open marriage and frames you as a cheater and then brings you to the cleaners? At this point, I wouldn't trust Leo. What you're experiencing is normalcy. You're used to his presence in your life, but how long are you going to live like this? The OP replies, Jesse had the same train of thought of you and actually took screenshots of his dating profiles during the beginning of the open marriage. She also told me to save screenshots of any texts we had about the open marriage. I don't think Leo would do that, but I also didn't think he'd ever ask for an open marriage. So what do I know? Oh, Leo, the classic tale of the husband who opens Pandora's box only to find out it's filled with his own disappointment and loneliness. It's almost poetic, really. He wanted to have his cake and eat it too, but now he's discovering that cake is surprisingly scarce in the open market. So, Leo misses us time now. How touching. Maybe he should have thought of that before turning your marriage into an all-you-can-date buffet. If he does ask to close the marriage, just make sure you remind him of the menu he ordered from. You're not obligated to keep dining at the same sad restaurant just because he finally realized he prefers to set a table over a reservation roulette. In the end, it seems like Leo's grand plan backfired, and you've discovered a whole new world of possibilities. Whether you decide to stay or go, at least now you know that you're worth more than the crumbs he was willing to throw your way. Update. Hey everyone, I got so many comments and messages on my last post, which got deleted for some reason, that I was a bit overwhelmed, especially when a lot of you kept saying the same thing, divorce, divorce, divorce. But the thing is, I think a part of me does still love my husband. I know in my last post that I didn't think I loved him anymore, but I just can't forget about the things that I do love. I love when he sings in the shower. I love when he laughs so hard he snorts. I love when he kisses my forehead when I've had a bad day. I love when he holds my hand while we watch TV together. Leo has done a lot of crappy things, but he really isn't the big a-hole people think. Maybe that was my fault. But even if I do still love him, I'm not in love with him anymore. I don't think I have been for a while. I care about him. A part of me does still love him, but you all were right. I should have just divorced him when he gave me the ultimatum in the first place. This past Saturday, we had the big talk. I initiated it. He didn't seem too surprised. I just told him that I noticed he didn't seem to like me going out with Mark or Steven and asked if there was a problem. He said there was, but he didn't ask me to close the marriage. He just asked me if I still loved him. I said something like, not like I used to. He broke down crying, which made me cry. I guess he had known for a while that I wasn't in love anymore, but he had hoped he could win me back if he funneled all of his energy into me. I was honest and told him that during those first 3 months of our open marriage,
I think my love for him died and I just couldn't get it back. I did tell him that I still cared about him and that I did love him, but it's not the same as it was. He asked if I loved Mark or Steven, and I said no. I like being with them and I care about them a lot, but I can't say I'm in love with either of them. I also finally asked him why he wanted the open marriage in the first place. A lot of you in the comments said he already had someone lined up, and you were right. He had someone at work he was interested in, and she wanted him too. The open marriage was just to get permission. He honestly never expected me to also get my own partners because of how unconfident I was, but he didn't want to stop me either because he thought nothing would come of it. He didn't really like me seeing other men, but he knew it wouldn't have been fair to tell me no when I gave him permission first. I guess Mark and Steven made him insecure because I was spending so much time with them on a regular basis. The open marriage was just sex on the side for him. He only did hookups, and they never lasted long. He genuinely always just loved only me, but he thought I was falling in love with my partners and he was losing me and wanted to win me back. We cried a lot and talked a lot. We decided to get a divorce. Since the house is in his name, I'm going to move out and live with Katie for a while. He told me I didn't have to and I could stay until the divorce is finalized, but I just can't. It's too hard to even look at him sometimes. I don't know how I feel, to be honest. I thought I would be relieved or sad, but I'm just tired. I wish I could have been like you all wanted me to be, clapping back or being sarcastic and snarky or rubbing it in his face, but I don't feel like I've won anything. I just feel lost. Now for some more opinions from the community. First up, I'm wondering if that maybe the other women ended it, so now he was back to what he was comfortable with, his wife? He went and had his fun, and when that died out, he was not left with a wife waiting for him at home. The OP replies, he and his coworker were only sleeping together for maybe a month. She fulfilled his kinks that I never liked indulging in. That's why he was with most of his partners, because I wasn't interested in his kinks. Someone else says, he stepped out of the marriage first and tried to have his cake and eat it too. The thing with open marriages is that you can never count on how emotions will change. Sex is a very intimate action and many people will develop emotional connections. Those connections come at a price. He placed a bet and he lost. At least he's man enough to acknowledge it and own up to it. There is no easy answer, OP. I wish you healing. The OP replies, thank you. Leo just thought the open marriage would be a way for him to get all of his kinks he couldn't do with me because I wasn't into it. He knew how unconfident I was, which wasn't because of him. A lot of people seem to think that he eroded my self-esteem, but he didn't. We can thank my mother for that, but that's a whole other can of worms. So he never expected me to partake in the open marriage either. One more comment says, so he never expected me to partake in the open marriage either. So basically, while he asked for a mutually open marriage, he expected it to be only his side open and then got hurt that reality didn't meet his expectations. OP replied, Leo admitted that he did only expect his side to be open. He was never going to stop me from opening my side. But like I said, he didn't think I would. To be honest, I don't think I would have either if it wasn't for Jesse and Katie pushing me and making profiles for me. Who would have thought that his grand vision for eternal wedded bliss would turn into such a spectacular dumpster fire? He imagined himself as the suave playboy navigating a sea of willing participants only to end up the sad lifeguard on duty at an empty kiddie pool. Instead of basking in endless orgies of passion, he found himself outdone by his own underestimation of you. Plot twist. You, the woman he thought would meekly remain on the sidelines, ended up living your best life with better company and better sex. As for you, feeling tired and lost instead of triumphant makes perfect sense. It's hard to celebrate a win when the game itself was rigged from the start, and the prize is a life overhaul. Moving in with Katie might be just what you need. A fresh start without the baggage of Leo's poorly thought out fantasies. So here's to you, OP, for navigating this mess with grace. It's not about winning or losing, it's about finding peace and moving forward.
Am I in the wrong? My wife and I have been together 10 years through high school, college, and into our early career. We have been married for 1.5 years and found out she had been sexting and talking explicitly with multiple people. One of the individuals lives in Indianapolis. She was subscribed to anonymous dating apps like Pure and told people we were in an open marriage, and she has come out as bisexual. After finding out, I was willing to give it a try and work through it. Her dad is also going through a divorce and he moved in with us. She, after about 2 months, decided she wanted to travel nurse to, you guessed it, Indianapolis. At that point, I feel like I subconsciously knew it was over when she went. She parties and drinks every night, while I grieve alone. I went on each day having to see her dad, who had no idea what was going on, and act like everything was fine. My wife came back for a couple days to visit family and forced an ultimatum on me: have an open marriage or a divorce. I said, an open marriage goes against everything I stand for. We need to get a divorce. I since moved her dad out and have been made out to be the bad guy. She comes home tomorrow, and I told her I'd rather her stay with her brother, whom her dad is temporarily living with, so I don't have to go through yet another emotional roller coaster. Am I in the wrong with this thinking? This has been going on since February of this year. Ask an opinion, you're gonna get it. Money Concept 5543 offers an opinion. No, I was just reading a different post that says to not victim blame. No matter what you did or didn't do, cheating is ultimately their fault. The OP replies, I completely agree. It's just been months of trying to look internally on what I did or didn't do, and honestly, there were no answers. Cool Lobster 2074 offers, because you didn't do anything, it's not about you, it's about her. Kara Nari thinks, cheating is never about you. Perhaps there were issues in your relationship, but if that was the case, she chose to cheat on you instead of addressing them. You were her husband. She should have just found a way to bring up issues with you. This is not your fault at all. We waste so much time wondering why the other person betrayed us, when in reality we should be focusing on ourselves to heal, move on, and become the people we want to be. Best wishes, OP. I don't think you have done anything wrong. Ad Revolution 6749 adds on, sounds like she's trying to redefine the terms of your marriage after having cheated and to basically keep you hostage in the marriage, under her terms. It sucks that her dad got hurt by her actions too. Not sure I'd say you're in the wrong. Strike fast, strike hard, figuratively speaking, with divorce, etc. See an attorney as soon as possible. Know your rights and get and follow legal advice. She sounds like she's out of her mind. Way out. Protect yourself. You're not in the wrong at all, OP. When you entered into this marriage, you vowed to enter a marriage between you and your wife. You didn't expect things to go this way, and you shouldn't have to put up with it. A marriage is about reciprocity, friendship, and balance. It sounds like your wife isn't seeing it that way and may have a very selfish approach to it right now. She might actually be forcing you to end things so that she doesn't feel responsible for ending things. She may be thinking that if you end it, she can feel less guilty about uprooting the family. I'm so sorry, OP. This isn't at all fair, but know that you are not at fault at all. Period. Do you think OP is in the wrong? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Up next, it takes two to tango. I'm just so effing sad. We've decided to get divorced, but we haven't told our young kids or anyone else yet. I love being a husband and a dad. I love our house. I love the life we had built. And now it's all going to be torn down. I'm just so dang sad. I don't want any of this to happen. I had everything I ever wanted. I was happy. I honestly believe that she was too. But she had an affair. Only after finding out about her affair did she tell me about a lot of things that I did over the years that hurt her, but she never communicated about them. At least not long enough for me to even have a clue that she was unhappy in our marriage. Despite the tremendous pain I experienced from her betrayal, I was willing to work to get past the infidelity and build a stronger marriage, but she wasn't willing or able to work through the things she was unhappy with. The things I did to hurt her are real and are serious, but I'm so upset and disappointed that I care enough to overcome her affair, and she doesn't care enough to overcome what I did wrong. Now I have to be part of tearing down everything we built and see it hurt our kids. I never saw my life going in this direction. I could handle it if it was just me, but it destroys me to know what my kids are going to have to go through. I just wanted to put this out there as a form of public therapy. Public therapy or not, you're going to get reactions. Go Socks 82 says, really not buying the you did this thing from 10 plus years ago as the reason I cheated. She cheated because she's selfish and is rewriting the history of your relationship to justify the cheating. It's frankly gross and disgusting that she's doing it. She needs to own the fact that she cheated and not blame, shift the end of the marriage onto you, because the reality is you wouldn't be getting divorced if she didn't cheat. Grendel Rex has the next opinion. Cheaters lie. Whatever she's saying now, she's saying to justify to herself that what she did for good reasons. If I had a nickel every time there was a story where the relationship was good to great before the affair, then suddenly the wayward spouse suddenly has been having issues for a long time. The issues in your relationship are a reason to fix the relationship, even leave a relationship, never to cheat. People cheat because they are selfish and cruel individuals. This is not your fault. If you believe nothing else, believe that. The OP replies, I completely understand that her affair is not my fault. There's no part of me that currently blames myself for her affair. I do believe that the problems were there, but she handled it extremely poorly. The marriage is effectively over. I'm turning the corner to try and establish a good co-parenting relationship. I will eventually find someone that I am very happy with romantically. I'm just so sad that it came to this. I expected to be married forever and loved her with all of my heart. It's the future I was anticipating and worked so hard for that I am mourning. All of the Christmas mornings with our kids, all of the kids' milestone moments, and just the summer nights in the backyard together. Our children are coming home to us on holidays as adults with kids of their own someday. I always thought we would experience those things together, but now I have to adjust my expectations, and it hurts. Hey, Hi Ho Ho says, she cheated. Don't for a second think she was being remotely honest about things that bothered her. Many of the things may be like a movie based on events, but it's what she says to avoid reflecting. Don't interact with her like it's a give and take equally. She is not your friend. No Nonsense says, I'm a bit incredulous about her having issues, never communicating them, and then saying this drove her to have the affair. Sounds like she did it because she wanted to and uses these things you did that hurt her as an excuse. If she doesn't communicate, how are you to know? It's sad that you have 2 children and she's willing to walk away and destroy her family. All you can do is be the best father you can be and live well. The OP replies, I've definitely considered your angle on it, that this is all concocted to relieve her of all guilt and put the blame on me. But things add up now that didn't before. I would prefer that this was all made up BS, but I believe that she is actually being more honest now than ever before. A lot of our relationship appears to be a lie and one-sided looking back on it now. For so long I felt a lack of affection, attraction, and connection coming from her. I thought it was just the way she was and I accepted it. I tried to compensate by giving more of those things myself, carry the load for us both. It turns out she wasn't giving me those things because of issues from the past that she never had the courage to discuss and address. Things that I believe we could have addressed and set right years ago if I was just given the opportunity. That I blame her for. You can't be in a marriage and hide your unhappiness and expect anything but a catastrophic failure of the marriage to occur eventually. Honestly, OP, she should have been comfortable enough to have conversations with you about what she was feeling and what you did wrong. I can't answer or assume why she didn't. However, I do know the importance of communication in marriage can't be stressed enough. It's essential to any successful marriage. Effective communication ensures fewer misunderstandings and helps develop a well-rounded relationship. Talking often helps you have a better understanding of each other and build a stronger bond. When you understand what each is dealing with, the ability to misunderstand each other decreases, and it will help each other feel supported and lead to better marital satisfaction. It's unfortunate that it got to this point, OP, and I'm so sorry, but it isn't your fault. Marriage involves 2 people. You can't share this burden alone. Is OP at fault? Tell us how you feel. While we move on. Up next is one bad love bug. Karma story. Got left for another guy, ex-girlfriend cheats and develops serious disease on first date. Ended up finding out my now ex was dating one of my patients behind my back. Their first date was to an adventure park in the woods climbing trees. During the date, she unknowingly gets bit by a tick. 3 weeks later, she comes to me crying, expecting sympathy, saying she was diagnosed with Lyme disease and has to go through some pretty significant treatment. She will be fine. She is still with the guy she cheated on me with, so she's his problem now. I never really believed in karma before, but this one was too good not to share. Keep your head up, peeps. Karma will clearly come for them. Dingleberries for Sport has a reaction. How did these people even get dates? So, where do you want to take me? I don't know. I figured we'd run around outside, maybe hang out in a forest, whatever. The OP replies, and it was 2 hours out of town and insanely expensive. She must really like this guy. Wild Grapefruit 9177 adds, I love stories with a happy ending. CJ Yeah adds in, dude I was seeing went to Mexico, most likely with a woman or trying to cheat. When he got back, his truck never started again. Karma wins. Wow. Yes, everything connects to everything else. Karma can definitely come back and bite you in the butt. Or in this case, it can be a tick with Lyme disease. Share some of your karma stories in the comments below. Is imitation just a form of flattery? Not to this OP. Friend who slept with 3 of my partners, dated 2. Edit. I rarely use the term ex-friend. I usually just say, we used to be friends. But we are not friends anymore. Ex-friends. Can't change the title, obviously, so I'm putting the edit up here. I stopped associating with her after high school. I don't know how else to make this clear. Since I, 23 female, was in high school, a friend of mine, Sam, 21 female, tried to sleep with everyone I was dating. We were really good friends. We went to an empowerment type camp together as young women, and it bonded us something crazy. I didn't know about any of this until I found out my husband, 26 male, was seeing her for over 3 years. We had been married for 4 years. He was late from work one day. I waited for him with dinner made, and he shows up with Sam. My heart broke. I have a pit in my stomach just talking about it. Anyway, I ended my relationship with my boyfriend in high school because he had slept with Sam. 2 or 3 relationships pass, then my husband. I reconnected with an ex after high school who told me they had also had sex. Then I found out Sam is dating my ex from high school. I found that last bit out because the ex hit me up and tried to hook up. My head is literally mad. What the hell is going on? Is this simply just how things happened? I can't help but think too much into things. Once I get, twice is a coincidence. 3 times is insane. NC Deep Diver offers an opinion. I hope you destroyed your husband in the divorce. If you live in the US, I hope you live in a state with alienation and affection laws where you can sue her for everything she has, or ever will have. Shell says, hope you let your ex-husband know that he wasn't special and that she just loves getting the dick after you've had it. Hide and Sin adds in, most guys don't care about that if they're only looking for some action and not a keeper. Just saying. Hope that helps. The OP replies, I think he was experiencing a bit of both. I was incredibly mean and loud when I found out. Not really proud of that, but Lord, he cried. He knows he wasn't anything to her, while he loved her. Eek, OP. Sounds like Sam just can't stand to see you happy and might totally be obsessed with you. She's probably an extremely envious type. Fortunately for you, she gets your sloppy seconds that don't work for you. You don't want these slime balls anyway. Let her have them.
Cheating wife wanted an open relationship to justify her affair, so I ghosted her. I, male 32, am a regular guy, married to Kat, name changed, female 30, for the last 2 years. We dated for 2 years before getting married. Things are not good between us lately. It all started 2 months ago, when my wife came up to me and suggested that we open up the marriage to spice up our life. I was shocked at her recommendation. I never imagined that she would ask for this. Guys, I'm not being an entitled or a controlling husband, but after knowing Kat for so many years, it is hard to believe that she wants to try this out. Let's admit that open marriage is a risky game, and more often than not, it ends up hurting at least one of the partners, and in most cases, both of them. I made it very clear to her that open marriage is complete no for me. It's not that I don't want to explore things or spice up our married life, but I want those to be within the realm of a closed marriage, with no third human being involved in it. She was disappointed because it's a rare occasion that I deny her something. I love her dearly and, more often than not, oblige to all her demands even if it becomes a compromise for me. Although she didn't say anything after that conversation, but I could sense that she was not taking it well. I wanted to get into the roots of the situation. I wanted to understand her thought process behind this suggestion. I started questioning my ability in bed. I wanted to talk her out, but she kept herself shut. Kat is a consultant and has a hectic work schedule. She often has to work in different time zones, which takes her work-life balance for a toss. I, too, have a busy work schedule, but I don't have to stretch beyond our time zone, so I'm better off in that way. Due to our work schedule, I wasn't able to discuss my concerns with her. I blamed myself for snapping at her with an impulsive no. I should have asked for more context before passing on my decision. I felt awful. Nearly 2 weeks after the incident, one day, I got home early from work and prepared her favorite meal for dinner. She was delighted at my gesture. We hugged and spent quality time with each other. I used that opportunity to ask her about her proposal for an open marriage. She immediately switched the gear into a frustration mode, accusing me of tricking her into a mind game. I did not trick her into anything. I just want to have a good time with her and understand her point of view on open marriage. That's it. I lost my mind at her accusations and asked her blatantly if I was unable to satisfy her needs. She opened up after that. She told me that she got a bunch of interns in her office who are just out of college and are in their early 20s. They party wildly and hook up at any given opportunity. Their interesting tales of adventure have put these ideas of open marriage in her head. She admitted to having a FOMO when her young colleagues discussed their cool lives of wild parties and thrilling hookups. I heard her out, and I got her point of view. It is natural for any human being to get swayed by shiny objects. I told her that I'm not very comfortable opening up our marriage because I treasure our relationship. Our bond is very special to me. Before I met Kat, I was also one of those freshers who lived life on the edges. I used to do the exact same thing as anyone in their 20s does, but I experienced the emotional turmoil that everyone does, hollowness. These excitements turn into emptiness after a while, and so when I met Kat, I found solace. After dating her, I never wanted to go back to my previous life. I proposed to her and got married. She was the one I wanted to have a baby and grow old with. I poured out my heart to her and reasoned out my take on open marriage. I also told her that despite this, if she was really that interested in opening up the marriage, then we could think about it again. She denied that instantly. She seemed to understand my concern and nodded all the while during the conversation. I thought that she resonated with my opinion, but I was wrong. She was not. Everything was normal for the next few days, but after a week or so, I again noticed a severe change in her behavior. She was behaving coldly with me. When I asked her, she shrugged off, saying that it was some work-related stress. In the last few weeks, she's acting terribly. She's throwing all kinds of tantrums on the silliest of things. She's mocking me by calling me an outdated person. I asked her what does she mean by that, to which she said that I'm an adamant person to cling to my ideology and I don't follow the trend. I wonder what does she mean by following the trend. I have a decent fashion sense and follow all the latest music and web series. I asked her if she was pissed off at my reluctance to open the marriage, to which she just nodded and said that maybe. What kind of answer was that? I was confused by her mixed reaction, all this while. Her work schedule got tighter. Earlier, it was just a few days in a month when she had to put up late at the office, but now she's coming late every other day. And some days, I see her coming home at dawn. When I confronted her regarding this, she told me that she was on a promotion path, hence she needs to prove her merit to get that position. She has always been an ambitious woman and I adore her for that. To be honest, I'm worried if she is telling me the truth, but I don't want to put any negative thoughts in my mind or jump to any conclusion. Something happened yesterday which triggered me to write the post. I've read hundreds of posts from this community and hence wanted to pour out my heart and seek any advice from all of you. Hear me out. Yesterday, I reached home at 7 p.m., a little earlier than usual. I reach at 8 p.m. on most days. I was craving lasagna for a long time, so I decided to prepare that for dinner. It was Kat's favorite too. It took me an hour and a half to prepare the lasagna, just the way Kat likes. I garnished it and kept it ready to surprise Kat. It was already 10 by that time. I messaged Kat to check when she was coming home. She responded that she would be late, maybe after midnight. It felt low and my enthusiasm died down. I spent the next hour engrossing myself in my video games. I was hungry, but I wanted to have dinner with Kat. Something inside me urged me to go and pick up Kat from her office. I had never done this before unless we had to go somewhere after work. I thought it was the best idea to kill the time and give her a warm surprise. I took my car and rushed to her office. Her office was a standalone building, and it was pretty easy to spot anyone entering or leaving the building. I waited outside the office for a good 30 to 45 minutes, watching the shops getting shut and the streets getting deserted. It was 12:30 a.m., but there was no sign of Kat. She was not responding to my texts, and I didn't want to bother her with my calls. For a moment, I thought that she might have left the office while I was on the way. I went upstairs to her office and inquired at the reception. The office was still hustling and bustling with the night shift employees. The receptionist told me that Kat had already left the office. I wanted to punch myself for an idea of coming down to the office. I was sure that she left the office while I was on the way. I drove back home and guess what? Kat wasn't at home either. My feet were trembling with fear. She was still offline and did not see my last message. I went into panic mode. Cheating was the last thing that came to my mind. I was concerned about her safety. It was too late to contact any of her work friends. Besides, she had joined the company 6 months ago, so I didn't have contact with her colleagues. I didn't know what to do. Tired and anxious, I dozed off on the couch. I woke up with the first light of the sun and rushed into my room impulsively. I saw Kat sleeping cozily in the bed. I rushed to her, tucked her up, and slept. When I woke up in the morning, she was already ready to leave for the office. I asked her when she came home last night. She said, 3 a.m. It was a hectic day at work. I was held up on a meeting with an Asian client. I asked her, when did you leave the office? She responded nonchalantly, 2:30-ish. I was shocked. Her answer gave chills to my bones. It was either the receptionist who gave me the false information that Kat wasn't at the office at 12:30 a.m., or it was Kat, who was lying about being at the office until 2:30 a.m. I was still feeling dizzy with last night's hassle, hence did not say anything further. She called me today in the afternoon asking if I was at her office yesterday. The receptionist informed her that I went there at midnight to check for her. I wonder what kind of shift is the receptionist doing at the office. Nevertheless, I told her the truth and the reason for showing up at her office. She was silent for a moment and then said that she left her office in the afternoon for a meeting in her client's office, which is located in a different part of the city. That's the reason she was not found at her own office. I was perplexed by her answer. She rephrased her statement and said that her client is an Asian company, but they have an office set up in the U.S. as well. Yesterday, she went to her client's U.S. office, which is located in the other part of the city, where she was in Zoom calls with the other employees based out of the Asian time zone. I'm still confused about what to do. A part of me wants to believe her as this is not a new concept. Companies all over the world have set up their offices in the U.S. and people work in different time zones. but my situation is completely different. I'm clueless and helpless. I don't know what to do next. Should I wait and let this pass, or should I confront my thoughts to Kat again? I have confronted her several times in the past, which I have described in the post above. Any suggestions and advice are appreciated. Thanks much. Hi there. I understand your dilemma. Your wife has left you hanging in the middle of a crisis, which is just about to arrive. I sniff an affair. However, you're absolutely right in not jumping to any conclusion right away. Instead, you're giving ample time to her to mend her way, in case she has gotten diverted. I would suggest that you sit her down and have a conversation that how her reckless behavior is taking a toll on your mental health. Tell her that you want to work out any differences in your relationship. Update. Thank you everyone for all your valuable suggestions. I took some of your advice seriously and investigated this matter. It's been 2 weeks since my last update, but I got some shocking news. Please bear with me if I just rant out here. I tried several ways to get her email or her phone's password, but she kept it too discreet. I picked my brains to come up with several ideas to dig out the truth, but I failed. The last 2 weeks have been pretty much the same, where Kat continued to come home late from work. We both were unanimously giving cold shoulder to each other, with very few occasional and transactional conversations in between. 2 days ago, she was talking to her mom, who is suffering from a kidney problem for the last few years, and her recent blood test did not show a good sign. I was working on my PC while she was lying on the bed and talking to her mom. Out of concern, I took her phone to check up on her mom. While mother-in-law was narrating her tiresome routine of tests and medicine, something clicked in my head. I peeked at the phone screen and found that it was unlocked, and there was some chat notifications. I got up and started walking into the room while talking to mother-in-law. I casually went inside the washroom while talking on the phone, and locked it from the inside. I put the phone on speaker and pretended to listen to her while reading the messages through the notification. The notification revealed that Kat was supposed to meet someone that day for a fun ride. I opened her social media DMs, and boy oh boy, you guys were right. She was already having an affair. She was sleeping with those novice coworkers. After a couple of minutes, she realized that I took her phone with me, inside the washroom. She started banging on the door to get her phone back. I didn't have enough time to read all the conversation line by line, so I scanned her gallery to find some concrete proof. The gallery was filled with explicit pictures of my beautiful wife in a compromising position with her coworkers. I emailed all those pictures to myself and deleted the history. She is cheating on me with her multiple colleagues. I felt so sick that I wanted to throw up. Meanwhile, my wife kept knocking on the door, asking for her phone back. I couldn't bear to hear her nagging voice. I unlocked the door, swiftly passed her the phone, and locked the washroom again. I wanted to rush out of the washroom and confront her right away, but instead, I calmed myself down and let that anger pass. The chat notifications had the details of the location and the time. They were supposed to meet that day. I went out of the washroom, took the car keys, and drove off to that location. While I was leaving the house, she called my name in a faint voice, but I didn't bother to turn back. I went to that hotel and took the darkest table in the lobby. I wasn't there to cause a scene. I just wanted to see how comfortable she was on her way to cheat on me. She was supposed to be there at 5 p.m. I reached there at 3, and by the time it was 5, I was down with countless shots. I wished to have confronted her in the house, but God knows what I was thinking at that time. Maybe I was too numb and not ready for a face-off. I wasn't ready for the face-off even in the lobby. It was 6, but she didn't turn up. I thought that she got a whiff that I might be there, and they would have changed the location. Nevertheless, I was too drunk and drained to pick my brains at that time. I sat there and continued to gulp my drinks. It was almost 7 when I saw Kat. With that sight, my world came crashing down. My vision was blurred by then. Like, come on, 4 hours of drinking can do a lot more than blurred vision. I faintly remembered what happened after that. I was reacting in autopilot mode. I got up and staggered my way to the reception area where she was registering her entry. I tapped her on the shoulder and said, "Good luck with your fun ride." I might have said something else too, but this is the summarized version of whatever I blurted out at the moment. She held my hand and said that she could explain. I don't remember what else she said. I could only recollect that I shrugged her off, freeing my arms from her claws, and stormed out of the hotel. I hailed a cab to my friend's place and passed out at his door. The next thing I remember is waking up on my friend's couch yesterday afternoon. I slept for 16 hours straight. It was Sunday afternoon. My friend Lee made me some lunch along with fresh lemonade. I narrated to him my entire sob story. He asked me to immediately freeze all the joint accounts, change the passwords, and get an STD done right away. For someone who had been betrayed so badly, money and all these privacy checks was the last of the concern. I reached out to my phone, which was lying dead. I plugged it into the charger and switched it on. The moment the screen appeared, it got flooded with notifications of 100 plus missed calls, 50 plus voicemails, and countless messages of pleading. I ignored all of it. After a few minutes of switching on the phone, I started getting calls and messages from her again. I blocked her from all platforms. I felt so disgusted that I didn't even read her messages and emails completely. Today is Monday. I've called in sick for the next few days at my office. I don't know how to deal with this. I've been drinking heavily and want to run away from all of this. I don't know what to do now. My friend is Googling some of the best lawyers in the vicinity as I write this post. I'll keep you all posted. Hey, please don't waste yourself. Don't punish yourself for your wife's mistakes. Your friend is right. You need to freeze your bank accounts and get all the tests done to ensure your safety. Your wife was with the people who are regularly into hookups. You never know how something can travel to you. It's better to be safe, you know? Take care. And dude, you need to wake up and take back control of your life. She can ruin you if you don't take appropriate measures. It looks like she's under the influence of the wrong people. DM me if you need any help. I know some good law firms that specialize in this sort of case. Update 2. It's 2 months since the last update. Thank you for all the PMs and care on my posts. After reading the comments on my last update, I decided to take back charge of my life, and as suggested, I immediately froze all the joint accounts, changed the password of all the vulnerable data, and got STD tests done. Thank God nothing came out in the tests. Lee helped me find a lawyer, and I shared all the pictures with him that I collected from Kat's phone. I settled with Lee for a while until the divorce is settled. He was looking for a roommate, so it's a fair deal for him too. All this while, Kat has been trying to contact me, pleading with me to get back together and start fresh. She contacted Lee and begged him to help her reconcile the marriage. She told him that she loved me and all those hookups meant nothing to her. She was just exploring herself. She wanted to feel desirable. I don't know, guys, if I'm MIA on these Gen Z concepts of feeling desirable, or if this entire concept itself is a sham. I don't know. After a few days of my last update, I sent Lee to my house with the keys to pick up my stuff. I was hoping that she would be at the office considering that it was a normal working day, but Lee found her at home. She broke down in front of Lee and asked him for help. He was smart enough to tell her that I was put up in a hotel and not at his home. He knew that she can show up at his apartment and create a scene. She informed Lee that she has left that job. She confessed that it all started when those bunch of interns started flirting with her at work. They made her feel desirable and beautiful again. They got her to taste all kinds of stuff and experience all those activities in which they were involved, including the illicit ones. She started the physical thing as a one-time experience, but later got addicted to that thrill. Those guys were interns and did not make enough money, so they preyed upon their senior, Kat, to pay their bills. Eventually, she did realize that they were sucking on to her money, but by then, she was already enjoying that life. Lee asked her why she did not confess all these to me before. She said that she spoke to me to open up the marriage as a guilty conscience, but my denial to do so pulled her back from confessing anything to me. What a crap! What was the point of asking for an open marriage after cheating on me? Kat has been resisting signing the divorce papers and has shifted the blame on me that it was I who has motivated her to go for those one-night stands to gain some experience. What a lame excuse. Nonetheless, she could not prove her false claims. Now, she's asking for alimony for her mental distraught, which is caused due to the divorce. If there's anyone who needs to be compensated, it's me. I had to go through the terrible feelings of betrayal. Later that month, her sister Amy, name changed, contacted me and pleaded for reconciliation. She told me how Kat is going through the tough times, which is leading to severe depression because those interns have maligned her reputation at the office. They have apparently shown pictures of Kat in a compromising state, having fun with them to other senior employees. They mocked Kat for being an easy catch. She became the center of gossip at the office, hence she had to leave. The senior employees have passed on the hot gossip to others in their network, outside of the office, and now Kat is having a difficult time getting a referral from her network. I told her that Kat was the one who ditched our stable married life for a thrilling experience, and now she has to deal with the mess which comes with it. Anyways, I'm moving on with my life. I've kept my drinking habits in check and have been concentrating on working out, eating healthy, and keeping myself busy at work. The divorce proceeding is going on. Thanks to Kat's resistance, it got delayed, but my lawyer assured me that it will wind up soon. Good luck with the new phase. Hope you come out of this situation stronger. And what a narcissistic behavior. How can she just shift the blame on you? Ridiculous. You need to get rid of this girl ASAP. Don't fall into any trap of reconciliation. Wife asked for open marriage. I asked for divorce. I'm wondering if I have jumped the gun or have been reasonable here. We have been married for 12 years now. Things have always been great without any particular up or down. My wife has always been a kind, sweet woman, and up until this, I thought the world of her. And then she went and broached the talk about open marriage. what if we consider opening up the marriage? Because all her friends did it and it's 2024. I didn't get angry or anything like that. I just listened and offered my counters. I asked if her friends are influencing her into this. She said no. I asked if she already had someone in mind. She said no. I asked her to give me some time to think about it, and she agreed, stating we don't have to do it if I'm not up for it. I shouldn't have, but in the days after I checked her phone and laptop. Nothing suspicious, or that suggests that she was cheating already. Last week I told her I thought about it, and in my opinion, she can date anyone she wants, because I want a divorce. Cue the sobbing, the begging and all. If I knew I wouldn't have ever asked. She refuses to move out, and so do I. So I sleep in the guest room. She's taken sick from work, and every time I'm home, she keeps begging to talk and go back to the bedroom with her. I believe her friends actually tried to influence her, and she didn't do anything at all, but this unraveled my perception of her. Was I too fast to mention divorce? As for an opinion of the community, you're gonna get it. First up, this may or may not be an overreaction, but my own marriage went into a separation, divorce still up the 1-year wait. After a couple of months of open marriage, albeit on both sides. But looking back, I wish I had the guts of being the one proposing to divorce. Someone else chimes in, while I understand that requests for open marriages are often the beginning of the end for many relationships, I also think that OP definitely jumped the gun here. His wife was trying to start a conversation and his reaction was to end it in the most dramatic way possible. He should talk to her, not necessarily because he wants to save the marriage, but just out of respect for the years they've spent together. The fact that he has no interest in understanding her perspective or motivation, or even letting her admit that she was influenced by her friends and now regrets it, makes it seem like he was looking for a way out already, and this was just a handy one. Someone else adds, I mean, you are who you are. If you can't forgive her for even considering the concept of having sex with someone else, that's absolutely destroyed your mental image of her, and you feel that you can never love her again, then you do what you have to do. It doesn't matter whether any of us agree or not. In the end, it's your life and you're the one who has to live it. Now, sure, from my perspective, your reaction seems a little unfair. If she legit has friends who are doing this stuff and she was curious whether you'd be into it, and she asked you and was happy to accept no as an answer, what else was she supposed to do? Partners should be able to talk to each other. Partners should be able to disclose even their most messed up, would never act on this desires in a place of shared trust. I hate to see people knee-jerk reject each other over even discussing sex because that encourages people to stay buttoned up, closeted, repressed, terrified to even ask the question. And that leads to a lot of people getting hurt eventually. Like, I have seen this happen with women sometimes when their husbands are like, do you think you'd ever consider butt plugs or something? And the wife immediately goes, oh my God, you're gay. I have been deceived. I want a divorce. Which is just a wild overreaction to me. But again, I'm not you. Only you know what you can live with in the marriage. If you're questioning whether you've moved too fast, you can try going to marriage counseling and talking through your feelings. But if you know you can't accept this, then that's how it is. Update. I wasn't jumping the gun. She was cheating, emotionally, and planning to do so physically. I checked her phone and computer and found nothing, but she came forward with a second phone I had no idea she even had. She thought I already knew. That's why she came out with it, just as I was starting to regret my decision. Her friends sweet-talked her into it. Apparently those open marriages are just their affairs. She thought it had helped her conscience if I went on with the open marriage. The things I saw are stomach-churning. She begs to be given a second chance, and a part of me is foolishly considering to give it to her. But it's not the right thing to do. I don't want to leave her, but I have to for my dignity, pride, and self-respect. That I love her has become irrelevant. We got a couple more reactions. First off, brother, I am sorry. Your wife has some crappy friends too, but that is what it is. You may recall my reply to your original post. I'm glad you followed up. I agree with you, you have to bail. If you stay at this point, she will do whatever she wants. Hell, she already was. The next person says, man, I am sorry. This was me to a certain extent. My husband asked for an open marriage, caught him in an emotional affair. Jury is out if it was physical until I caught him. We are in the process of getting a divorce. Our hearing date is in May, so all will be behind me soon. Long story short, I know how you are feeling and it sucks. It has gotten a lot easier and better for me as of late, if that makes you feel any better. Whoa. Discovering a second phone is like finding a cockroach infestation in your marriage. You squish one and then suddenly there's a whole colony you didn't even know about. Looks like her friends weren't just sipping tea, they were brewing a pot of drama. Most importantly, Your decision to prioritize your dignity, pride, and self-respect is commendable. It's not easy to walk away from your relationship, especially after investing so much time and emotion into it. But ultimately, staying in a situation that undermines your sense of self-worth would only prolong the pain. And honestly, if she's doing this to you after 12 years, she's no longer that person you married. What do you think? Would you have asked for a divorce right away? Why or why not? Up next, OP shines a light on their journey, embracing the power of vulnerability and showing others that they're not alone. Feeling surprisingly better, despite pretty fresh wounds. Most of the posts on this sub are, understandably and rightfully, tragic stories. Mine is one of them, though I've noticed a shift in my mood this last week or so, and I wanted to share in case anyone else is also in the thick of it and feeling lost. Post history explains some background, but basically I thought I was in an incredibly secure, safe, loving marriage just 2 months ago, 5 years married. Husband turned on me out of nowhere and says he isn't happy for a while despite never acting like it or confronting me. Spent the next 6 weeks effectively phasing me out and increasing activity with the affair partner, which I knew about all along, but he thought he was hiding it. It's been almost 3 weeks since he asked for the separation, which prompted me to confront him on cheating. It's been a little less than 3 weeks since he's last lived in the house with me normally, and it's been almost 2 weeks since I've last seen him. I'm in the house, and he's in a short-term corporate apartment-type place. I could barely eat for the whole month of November, but a week ago, my appetite is genuinely back. I don't wake up in the middle of the night and start panicking or wallowing about my situation anymore. The constant pit in my stomach seems much lighter in the last few days, and I haven't had a really good cry in a few days also. What changed? I've been leaning on my support system hard and putting myself out there. Last week, I spent each night talking to a different friend on the phone for like 2 hours each. Went to a fitness class, made plans with newish friends for the first time this weekend, and made a completely new memory. Went to a holiday party with a family member where I knew literally no one, and it ended up being really fun. Lots of nice people, and again, totally separate from my prior life. I'm a homebody and sometimes avoid socialization. I'm a texter, not a talker, but moving out of my comfort zone in this way has been super therapeutic. My husband's fancy work holiday party was this weekend, and I was worried I'd have super FOMO leading up to it and on the actual day. But by the time the day arrived, I was actually relieved I did not have to be trapped at a party with an emotional abuser putting on the nice guy front for his colleagues. I don't want to be at a party with someone who has told me he doesn't love me. I have plenty of people who love me. Ahead of time, I muted Instagram posts and stories from those I follow who would be at this party. Out of sight, out of mind. I am in individual counseling 2 times a week for now, and I listened to Leave a Cheater, Gain a Life. I think Chump Lady's book is a big reason why I've started to see things in a different light now. The feelings of sadness, attachment, and longing for my husband have turned to ones of pity and disgust. Cheaters are repulsive. Cheaters are narcissists. Cheaters are selfish. They are not spouse material. I just need to see it for what it is now. Starting to tell my story to my friends and family has helped tremendously. At first, I was worried about judgment or damaging my husband's reputation in case of reconciliation, but my personal healing and well-being is far more important than my husband's reputation, which he has now damaged, not me. Don't be afraid to talk about your story. People have been so supportive. I've avoided seeing him, and I respond to the logistical texts he sends from time to time, and I never initiate first contact. Minimal contact arrangement. I know I am far from recovered. This journey is not linear. More tears and meltdowns will come at some point, but a few weeks ago, I literally couldn't see myself coming out of the extreme, debilitating spiral I was in. To all the betrayed people out there struggling, we got this. Edit to add, he asked for a separation but specifically said he was undecided about divorce, whatever that means. I don't feel pressure to make any moves right away because I need to prioritize my health and well-being first. I have a lawyer in mind if I need one. Well, if there's one thing worse than a bad breakup, it's a bad breakup with a side of betrayal and deceit, am I right? It's like winning the lottery of emotional trauma. But hey, silver lining alert. Looks like you're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel of the "my husband's a cheating narcissist" tunnel. Who needs FOMO at fancy work holiday parties when you can have a FOMO-free, drama-free evening with people who actually give a darn about you? It's not your fault he decided to throw your marriage into the garbage disposal of infidelity. So here's to you, OP, for navigating the treacherous waters of separation with grace and resilience. Remember, the road to recovery may be bumpy, but as long as you keep putting one foot in front of the other, you'll come out on the other side stronger and wiser than ever before. You got this. Lastly, a wild night of bubbles and trouble. Possible cheating girlfriend. A few weeks ago, my girlfriend's friend and her friend's boyfriend invited us to her family's cabin in the North Woods. We were having a great time drinking and playing games. At one point, we decided to get naked and get in the hot tub. It was fun, but after about 10 minutes, the heat and tequila started to get to me. I left to go to the bathroom. I got sick and went to lay down for a minute, but I must have passed out. I woke up a couple of hours later when my girlfriend came to bed. She was just wearing a towel and dropped that before climbing in bed. I cuddled up with her and started rubbing her, but she grabbed my hand and pulled it away, then went to the bathroom. I heard the shower turn on and she came like 15 minutes later and started kissing me. Then said she just wanted to clean up first. She gave me a BJ but didn't want to have sex. Am I just being paranoid or did something happen while I was passed out? Update. I did confront her and took some advice from the comments. I told her I talked to the other guy and he already told me everything, but I wanted to hear it from her. So she told me everything. Basically, her friend and the boyfriend started fooling around in the hot tub and eventually my girlfriend ended up joining and they had a threesome. Not too surprised considering how I left them. I never intended to be away that long, but doesn't excuse anything. After she told me all the details, I told her we were done and left. She's been texting, apologizing, but too little too late. I mean, getting naked in a hot tub is one thing, but finding out you missed out on a surprise threesome while you're busy napping? Ouch. I mean, she could have woken you up at least. But in all seriousness, kudos to you for taking the high road and handling the situation with some serious self-respect. It takes immense courage to confront a situation like this head on and to walk away from a relationship that has been shattered beyond repair. You deserve so much more than to be treated as an afterthought, especially by someone you cared about deeply. Your girlfriend's remorse may be genuine, but it doesn't erase the pain she's caused or the trust she's shattered. It doesn't magically turn back time and undo the hurt you've endured. And who's to say that's been the first time she's ever taken part in steamy hot tub romps? Wife caught using new open marriage as smokescreen for double life with girlfriend. Wife and I, 29 female and 29 male, were high school sweethearts, went to college together, professional school together, and are completing the final stages of our postgraduate training together. We have been married 8 years and together for 15 years. I completed the finals training stage earlier than her and am moving to a phase of my career where I signed a big contract. And in a couple of months, my salary, currently $50K-ish, will instantly increase 5 to 6 times and afford us a type of lifestyle neither of us has ever experienced. She has 2 years until something similar will happen for her, and she and I were unbelievably close to experiencing the rewards of all of our years of supporting each other and delayed gratification. I negotiated my contract to last until she finishes her training, and she and I would get to decide for the first time where we wanted to go and live our dream life on our own terms. About a month ago, she approached me and told me she was experiencing a confusing physical attraction to a female coworker and close friend of hers. She has historically never been attracted to other women. She felt sorry enough about those feelings to bring it up to me, and I believed it took a lot of courage to admit to herself and to talk to me about it as well, especially given her extremely religious conservative upbringing. We have talked in theory about polyamorous relationships, and although we have always been monogamous, she knew I have a firm belief that humans can have feelings for more than one person at once without those feelings being less valuable or less legitimate. She requested a conditional open marriage to explore these new developments in her sexuality. She spoke to her friend, who reciprocated the attraction. We discussed the ground rules that we could all agree on to allow them to explore things in a way that was clearly designed to keep our marriage as the final priority, and all parties agreed to proceed with full consent. I initially created this account to explore polyamory and open marriage subreddits. Any negative emotions I was experiencing I interpreted as jealousy, which I needed to work through, and I started seeing a therapist with the specific goal of processing those feelings to allow my wife, whom I implicitly trusted, the freedom I felt she deserved. On multiple occasions, I even apologized to both of them for taking longer to get comfortable with the arrangement than I originally anticipated. I didn't need to do any of this for long because my rapidly developing suspicions that something was deeply wrong proved to be correct. After enough violations of our rules in a short period of time, coercing me into allowing her to push those boundaries further and faster than she knew I was comfortable with, and general sketchy, dishonest behavior, I couldn't ignore my suspicions anymore and looked through her phone one night while she was asleep. I felt genuinely awful violating her privacy like that, despite one of the ground rules of the arrangement being completely open communication, including the option to review each other's digital communication, which we both knew I never actually had any intention of doing. I found a staggering amount of unequivocal evidence that the two of them had been having an affair for an indeterminate amount of time, but definitely much longer than our open experiment. It appears they actually came up with the idea together in order to spend additional time together on top of what they were already doing behind my back. During the time I did know about, they were meeting far more often than I knew, having her girlfriend park down the street and sneak through the backyard to avoid triggering our security system so they could spend nights together while I'm out of town or working an overnight shift, lying about having to stay late at work in order to spend time together, as well as having frequent intimate contact in their workplace during their work hours. They were also intimate in our bed, didn't even change the sheets afterwards sometimes, which was a boundary that my wife herself had proposed we keep as something for only the two of us. Aside from crossing numerous physical boundaries and lying about the timeline, there were also messages in which they were making long-term plans for the next 2 years, when my new job would pull me away from home to essentially live together in our house for a significant portion of the year, using my increased income to fund things they wanted to do together. Even more shocking was a clear pattern that showed my wife to be the primary instigator, aggressor in their relationship. Several times her girlfriend showed some degree of hesitancy, to which my wife would tell her how she would fix this for them, and that all she has to do was keep me happy enough to remain oblivious, and very soon they would have essentially free reign to have a life together. The text I was reading sounded like some evil sociopath I had never met, especially not the love of my life, to which I have devoted 15 years. When I confronted my wife about this yesterday, she claimed to have no idea what I was talking about. Even when presented with screenshots of her own words, she continued to try denying that she was clearly having a prolonged affair that she planned to continue, and was going to use me for financial security while living a double life with a girlfriend. After hours of discussion, she finally admitted to everything. Obviously, I am completely lost right now. I have never made a single decision in my adult life that did not include thinking of us as a single unit, always working towards a shared goal that we were so close to achieving. I feel like I don't even know who this person is, and we have been together over half of our lives. Now that she's been caught, she claims that she has broken off her relationship with her girlfriend and is willing to do anything it takes to rebuild trust between us. To me, this seems impossible. Due to the nature of their jobs, she and the person she was cheating on me with will see each other on nearly a daily basis over the next 2 years, which will include multiple mandatory overnight stays together and potential to be assigned night shifts alone together for up to a month at a time. They have already cheated together while at work on multiple occasions, and my wife would text her afterwards about how she thought it was extra hot. Even if I reach a place where I want to try to fix things, in my mind, there is no way that can happen while the two of them are still seeing each other on a daily basis. Leaving her current job essentially ends her career, leaving her with 6-figure debt and no way to pay them off. She is trying to come up with some system of accountability that will make it possible to trust that she isn't continuing her affair at work, but I cannot think of anything that would possibly give me the level of reassurance I would need, due to the extreme and complicated measures she has already used in the past to deceive me, and her clear ability to look me in the eye and lie in a way that made me believe her. So I am nearly certain we need to get a divorce. I wish I could say I was 100% certain, but I don't think my brain is capable of imagining a future without us being together. Despite knowing we need to split up, the nature of her affair presents additional complications. Her family is extremely religious, and there is a chance they would disown her due to her affair being with a woman. Her family has also seen the levels of love and support I've given over the years and thinks of me as a son. I'm probably closer to her parents than I am my own. Additionally, her workplace actions could either result in significant setback or termination, which would leave her with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt with much more limited ability to ever get it paid off. Somehow, despite everything she had done, I do not want to burn her personal life, family life, and career completely to the ground. So I'm currently keeping it a secret from almost everyone else in our lives until we come up with an acceptable cover story for why this blissfully happy and successful couple suddenly get a divorce when we were on the verge of enjoying everything we have worked our whole lives to achieve. I feel like an idiot. I feel alone, and an anonymous wall of text on a subreddit is one of my only outlets to process the most painful experience of my life. Our first reaction comes from OddDamage4689. Additionally, her workplace actions could either result in significant setback or termination, which would leave her with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt with much more limited ability to ever get it paid off. Take it as leverage on divorce settlements. She showed you her true colors. Don't waste more years of your life with someone who doesn't respect you and use you for money. Don't believe they ended. Prepare exit plan and lawyer up. You are still very young with good career and future. Keep screenshots if she tries to badmouth you in the future. Good luck. Scared to Death 2022 says, "This, OP, do this before it's too late. Run before your promotion." Average Joe 78 adds, "She saw UOP as an ATM to fund her double life with the affair partner, being the side piece and not the primary relationship. After so many lies and manipulations, you can't trust her at all and need to be prepared for a divorce war. Be clear with her that the reason of the divorce will be cheating, and under no circumstance will you be the bad guy in this movie.
You can negotiate with her that you will say it was a guy you didn't know with the condition of her having an uncontested divorce under your terms. Be fair, but use this as a token to keep her crap under control. If she doesn't like these conditions, well, she has the other alternative where you say the truth. You already are being nice to protecting her work. If not, you can even complain to her job and tell her family what happened. Wraith Luminos adds in, sadly, as you have stated, there is no coming back from this because she is not the woman you thought she was. She instigated the open relationship as a cover for the affair, and not the other way around. This should tell you that this whole thing was a very carefully thought out plan to deceive, betray your trust, and disrespect your marriage vows. She knew exactly what she was doing to the point that even her affair partner was clearly feeling guilty, and she was detailing her plan to deceive you to keep you complacent and use you to fund their lifestyle. That to me, as well as bringing her affair partner into your bed, is the ultimate disrespect. Time to leave and let the chips fall where they may. She clearly had no remorse or guilt when lying to your face, so you shouldn't feel guilty or walking away from her. Tell everyone that she cheated, but you don't have to say it was with a woman or with who to at least spare her relationship with her parents and her job. When someone shows you who they are, believe it. Even if you manage to forgive her, you will never forget and you will never trust her again. Is this the way you want to live the rest of your life? Because even if she says the relationship is over, she's still with her 24/7, so you know as well as everyone on this sub that it is so definitely not. Good luck and put yourself first here. There are millions of loyal women out there and you deserve better. Our next comment comes from K. Sink Sinlim. OP, I think you know what you need to do already, but I just want to bring one thing up. I do not want to burn her personal life, family life, and career completely to the ground. You are not the one responsible for this when you divorce. She is. Her actions brought this upon her, brought the divorce upon you, and these are the consequences. Let her pay them. The OP replies, thank you for your reply. The more I process, the less I think I should care about protecting any aspect of her life at this point. It's more just a force of habit out of spending over half of my life with someone. But something tells me I will learn to get over that. One more comment from Revolutionary Hat 688. She's only offering to fix things until she's able to dump you in her own terms. She's probably used you for more than just this one affair. Using someone for this long a time frame and the level of manipulation is staggering. I would say run before she gets pregnant and tries to baby trap you into a relationship that will always be completely one-sided. Get a lawyer to protect yourself. She didn't love you. No way does someone that loves you pull that kind of gaslighting and manipulation. I think that the two of them got off on it. It was part of the game. Mourn who you thought she was, but acknowledge that she never was that person and instead was a self-centered user who manipulated you into an open marriage to cover and fund her affair. Oh, OP, I'm so sorry. It sounds like she was looking for an easy way to live her fantasy life. She was definitely manipulating you. You are far too good of a person. If you are holding back divorcing her because you're afraid of wrecking her personal life or career, you need to remember that she made the decisions she did. You are not responsible for the decisions she made. You need to think of yourself right now. She was definitely conniving and planning a secret life behind your back. Rather than having the courage to end things with you, she wanted to hang on to you and use you for financial gain because she's not ready to face the consequences of her actions. That has nothing to do with you. Now is the time to be super selfish. It will be easier to go through a divorce right now than when you have more to lose down the road. And here I thought it would never happen to me. Me, male 52, wayward wife, 50, together for 22 years, married 20, 3 kids, 2 young adults, 1 7-year-old. 5 years ago, the wayward wife had a late life epiphany. Sex was good and enjoyable. We went from 1 to 2 times a month to daily, and sometimes, if time and responsibilities allowed, twice in the same day. The activities included seductive nudes sent to my phone or email, and cutesy stuff, hearts and smileys reminiscent of our earlier days in the relationship before kids. Somewhere in this time, December through January of 2018, talks about spicing up the bedroom by bringing another person in the mix. First red flag. It was a guy friend from our cohort that the wayward wife suggested. Noped it hard, with the simple reason of not my cup of tea to be naked in the same bed with another guy and my spouse. It got dropped then, but articles about poly and open relationships were being dropped in my inbox or links on the phone. I would read them and vary from non-committal to not interested. A week before Thanksgiving of 2018, we're out on a date and the talk about including a third comes up. I ask if this hypothetical third has a name. It's a close friend with whom we spend a lot of time together, etc., and with whom the wayward wife has spoken about this idea with already. Pay for the drinks, get in the car, and proceed to flip my lid. 1. I never agreed to this. 2. For any such conversation, I should have been present and not told after it was decided. 3. F no. Literally. The holidays sucked for all, but it was one of the best weight loss programs for all adults in the house. Around February of 2019, we get our crap together and talk it through. She's repentant and remorseful, admits poor judgment, and understands why I am not okay about the deceit, as well as the whole idea. She got it. Sex life took a hit. We managed to find a new place, at least once a week, but the spark and lust were subdued. Earlier this year, a parent that I had a difficult relationship passed unexpectedly. I was there for a planned 4 days, stayed for 45 and a funeral. My baggage started resurfacing, especially some of the treatments that I experienced of being the safe one, the second choice. As I'm starting to deal with this crap milkshake of the soul, Wayward Wife starts to be withdrawn, always on electronics, limited conversation, and only about the basics. F. I'm at a place to deal with my loss, and now this? Okay. I get on her machine after midnight when the house is all quiet, and there's nothing in recent email or on Facebook and on phone messages. There's activity, but nothing that points to coded or otherwise hidden messages. I check the time frames of 2017 to 2018. Bingo. I find sent emails to the friend from her with the same spicy pictures I was getting at the same time. Facebook Messenger for the same period is full of good mornings, smiley faces, hearts and flirting between them, video chats from 5 to 15 minutes. Wayward Wife was starting a business, and friend would stop by for coffee or lunch daily as he could. At the time, he was there to help and advise. Flip of lid part 2. The idiot awakens. Got the 20k volts coursing through me all night. Could not sleep, sit, just paced. Around 6 a.m., Wayward Wife wakes and asks what's wrong. I open the laptop lid and show her the highlighted emails with her naked pics to the friend's email. No inbox, just sent files. I asked how she would react if she found out I had pictures of a naked woman on my machine and that they were of a time period covering at least 10 months prior to what I said was a silly mistake. I pointed out that she did lie. She did have at least an emotional affair with the now verified affair partner, and it was deliberate. Trust was lost, and any statement from her at this point would be suspect to its truth. The first apologies of the Wayward Wife ended in the trash can as she started to vomit. I asked why she did not tell me of this 4 years ago. We would have dealt with this already. I told her I'm taking the day to think about it and sharing because it can happen to anyone. None of us are special. And here I thought it would never happen to me. Update. Today is day of firsts. The outpouring of support and trauma shared is staggering. I find myself glad and sorry that I'm not alone in my experiences. Thank you to all for the advice, comments, and suggestions from readings to step-by-step playthroughs. I have replied to individuals, but it's worth updating all and clarifying some points before the update. She did have a miscarriage that was a bloody affair that we rushed to the ER for, with her soaked in her own blood. It was verified as such by the trauma staff and OBGYN at the hospital. It was early first trimester. No way to tell who the father was. This was early 2018. Got snipped shortly after. Sex life was still on the red-hot stage of things. I have heard from several of you that the DNA test route is a good idea. It's yet another truth that has been challenged today. Affair partner is single, has been divorced for at least as long as we are married. Racially, we're European stock. He's mostly African American and Native American. He's very well spoken, charming, and educated. Wayward spouse was engaged in minority community outreach and education for years, as was affair partner. Wayward spouse, nascent business, was with an actual storefront. Sure, there were spaces that two adults could be intimate in. If there is a will, there's a way. Affair partner runs his own consultancy and makes his own hours. Flexible schedule and has small business experience. Offered to help with the startup and was an advisor. Again, legitimate reasons to be there plus time. Business was started in the fall of 2015. Storefront opened in winter of 2016. Closed shop spring of 2019. Good idea, bad execution. In retrospect, Wayward spouse had her mind and focus elsewhere. And yes, the more I reread this text, the more of the calamity this man was for us. After spending the day in disbelief, anger, and errand voltage running through me, I came home. My insides are playing death metal while outwardly I whistle easy listening tunes. Wayward spouse is on the couch, collapsed in on herself. She tried to get up to greet me and I just pointed my hands at her. She sits. I grab the chair as far from the couch as I can. I inform her that I'm with one foot out the door. I will decide which direction to move in the relationship based on what she does next. I tell her that since she's the mother of the kids, and out of respect for our time together, I will endeavor to keep nastiness on my part to a minimum. I remind her it's more fair than she deserves, and it's because of my self-respect, not her actions. Because of her effed up upbringing and the abandonment she experienced, I tell her not to be afraid of me disappearing. I tell her that if I leave, she will be explicitly told. I also let her know that her presence in the house is at my discretion at this point. She has luggage and can be told to leave if at any point she disrespects me or tries to lie. We discuss how to tell the kids. She wants to tell them that it's the fight from 2018. I remind her how one of the then teens stopped speaking to her and how she would be a pariah once again in the house. She starts crying, and I remind her if she did this, I will talk to the kids and with her there. She shook her head and cried. In return, to begin with, start with the no contact letter to affair partner. Start the timeline on paper. Anything not true. We're done right there. A list of passwords to accounts, bank, and plastic records. She gets the couch. I will let her know what next. Before I leave the room, I asked her, who is she? She has become a stranger. The community has a couple reactions. First, from Live Maze 6410. You're about to be trickle-truthed into oblivion. Just an FYI for you, man. She is going to lie, omit, and obfuscate because that's what they always do. My advice is to take time for yourself and decide what you really want to do. The OP replies, yeah, I know, but the cat's out. Really don't care of the color at this point or how big or small it is. Jackets Blue chimes in next. You have a 7-year-old? And this took place about 5 years ago? If it were me, I would be questioning that. Affairs are icebergs. You only see the tip. The OP replies, Kid and I are of the same blood type. Wayward Wife and OP are different and very unique. The miscarriage that happened in that time frame is suspicious though. Fine Cannabis Grower chimes in. You and I have so much in common that I can't help but feel this sickness and pain with you. I'm sorry, but I don't have any sagacious advice that could help anything. If she's like my wife, she's trickle-truthing and will never come clean. If you still feel you could burn it all down and start over, now's the time. I didn't because it was long ago and the kids were still small. You must know if you're going to take having a wife that you clearly shouldn't trust. The OP replies, yeah. The whole awakening and going from a comatose bedroom to a hot one did not sit right at the time. As I mentioned, I have proof of the lying. What she decides to do is now tainted by that. I'm sorry that you too had this experience. Cranach chimes in next. What you know is only what you found, which is not at all only the tip of the iceberg. Do you think that they only chatted friendly when they met during a time when they had already exchanged nudes? First thing you should do is go to a doctor and get tested for STDs. Then, distance yourself from her and take your time. You need more than a day to process what she did and to separate the woman you thought she was from the woman she actually is. Tell her to use that time to write down everything she did with that guy and why she liked the idea so much to humiliate you by bringing her secret lover not only into your bed, threesome idea, but even into your life, open poly marriage. She also needs to write down why she was okay with losing you and your marriage, which is something she accepted when she started her affair. She knew what might happen if you find out. Stay away from alcohol and drugs. They won't help you. Instead, start doing sports or go for long walks. It will help a little to sleep at night. Tell her that she can sleep on the couch or in the guest room since she is no longer welcome in your bedroom until you made a decision. Let her face some of the consequences on what she did right away. You are worth so much more than to be treated this way. The OP replies, Thank you. Don't drink or self-medicate when upset. I need to think of the kids as well. I see the written admission timeline as punitive. She at the least had an emotional affair, probably a physical affair of some sort. The STD was done because I felt bad for the miscarriage and got a vasectomy. Little did I know at the time. So yeah, I need a few days just for the shaking to subdue. Part 2. While going through the wayward spouse's phone, I found her text file with all her passwords to her accounts, Facebook, email accounts, Apple account, etc. So one more piece of intel. I have not been this angry, hurt, and confused in my adult life. I found all the things that I held as hard truths to be null. It's surreal having the person with whom you build a life with being asked to write a no-contact letter to her affair partner. It's even more surreal for the wayward spouse to not argue when I've been asking her to do things. I asked her to also provide me with the affair timeline. Based on what she wrote, I would decide on my next steps. This all the morning after. I got myself to work and got sorted there with management about time off. My manager was understanding and gave me no problems. I started going through wayward spouse's social media chats with the affair partner and started seeing a pattern of flirting and daily conversations from January 18th to almost June 19th. After that, There were more conversations between them, but mostly about a project that the two of them have been engaged for a while. There were 2 dates in the text lineup, on March 19th and one on April 19th. The first was flirting between them, where a affair partner was commenting about wayward spouse's lips and how he loves kissing her. She replied back with heart emojis and how she could not wait to see him in the morning. This was during the time that I was away on a trip with 2 younger kids visiting family. Screenshot number 1. The second exchange was wayward spouse telling affair partner that she's sorry for hurting his feelings, but they need to keep it just to the project. Screenshot number 2. Send both screenshots to wayward spouse via text and asked that she include those in the timeline. She starts explaining over text that they are not what they seem. I text her to just put the explanation in the timeline. Finish a couple tasks at work and head home. Wayward spouse is sitting on the couch reading a book. I ask her how the timeline is coming along. She looks up and says she will work on it when she has time in the evening. She looked like she was crying, but is putting on a brave face. I'm irritated by this. I can't interpret her stance. It could be a, I don't want to do this, it's not important, or can't face it, and you're not the one in charge. This is not a game. Send a text to my friend, letting her know that I need an exit and shelter in place. Got confirmation and ETA. Grab my laptop, charger cables, etc. Toiletries, and bug out bag. Get the text from friend that says ETA is 2 minutes, as I asked. Walked into the room with wayward spouse and asked when the timeline will be done. She says she's going to work on it that evening. I let her know that she can concentrate better without me there and that I will be back home when the timeline is complete. An exit stage right. She's left mouth agape as I walk out. I had a timeline in my email inbox in 40 minutes. On the very first of the versions, half of the timeline were apologies, excuses, and reasons that made no sense. It took several days of edits and pointing the inconsistencies in the narrative. I wanted to drive home the time this was hidden, so I sent her a document that I had asked her to fill out because of her jumping around the in her story. It was really a list of all the months from September to 17 of June of 2022. She started her timeline from September of 17 with the first set of spicy pics she sent me and continued on from there, with focus after the blowout we had, when she announced her desire to open the marriage up and have an affair with the affair partner. She felt ashamed and sorry for her actions in November of 2018 and did not speak to the affair partner until after the holidays. Sometime in January of 18, while we were working towards reconciliation, she started speaking with him again, and he was supportive of her and understood where she stood. He asked her if she would like to drop out of their project, and she said no, as it was very important to her as a project in general. During that time, they continued to spend time together, but would no longer tell me about it. When I had noticed this, I had asked affair partner why he was no longer around as much. Not that I minded, and he said that he was spending more time with his son, who was now staying with him. In providing support for their soft breakup that was our fight and almost breakup in November of 18 with wayward spouse, they got closer, rekindled, and continued with their emotional affair. The highlight was the texts of the screenshot I caught where the two of them apparently shared an intimate kiss for the first time, sometime on March of 19. After that, they continued having encounters when they could that were mostly making out and some petting over the clothing. Wayward spouse apparently was feeling guilt and shame and broke it off with what was the aftermath in the conversation that got caught in April of 19 in text. When I had a cohesive timeline, I sent it to the affair partner and asked him what he had to say for himself. He responded with how sorry he was and that he never should have engaged in that relationship and how sorry he was. He would tell me anything else, but I needed to find out what happened. Told him that wayward spouse and I were talking about a sexual misconduct complaint against him. Truth was, we had never talked about it, but I knew the organization he worked for and the project the two of them were involved in and how damaging any such publicity would be. He sang like a canary and gave the wayward spouse up without a fight, right under the bus. He admitted that she approached him, that he knew my reservations, but thought I could be open-minded. Wayward spouse was to him a friend who truly understood the social issues of his life and felt he could speak to her with an open heart because she understood him. Yeah, I know. I had the same reaction when I read that. He was sorry for the damage and was ashamed for lying and keeping it a secret. I called him a snake in the grass and how I was not there to give him an absolution. From their timelines, I gathered that they were on and off and confused as to when it was just an emotional affair or just working on a project, and even the physical affair parts were strained, with him leading most of the time and her being active at first, then passive towards the end. He said he was sorry. I told him to keep the F away from us, at least while I'm in the picture. Getting enough information between wayward spouse and affair partner, I think I got a pretty good idea of the truth to what happened. It was an emotional affair that got started from the wayward spouse attraction to affair partner. his role in pursuing and in some cases manipulating the wayward spouse, the lying that they both engaged during the time it was supposedly over, lies, betrayal, and more lies. Had the talk with a couple of lawyers who pretty much said the same things. The most brutally honest one was the last one I saw, who upfront told me that the post-nuptial agreement I was looking for would not make sense in the northeast of the US because of how long we had been together. There would be no alimony, but the support that I would have would be more than half of my paycheck. To his recommendation, it was not the worst he had seen, so he would rather we spend the money on counseling versus legal fees. Either way, if we were to divorce, the process would cost as much as the post-nup, so not a win there either. The night before my return home, I got quite drunk with my friend at her house, where 3 bottles of wine died for our sins, and my body not so gently reminded me that I'm 52, not 25. She's one of my best friends, even though attractive as hell, never made a move as I was always involved. She's also good for the ego and took care of me emotionally and physically when I could not eat. Nothing like a Valkyrie telling you to eat or else. During my time away from home, I kept in touch with the kids and offered to listen to anything they had to say. 7-year-old was the hardest to speak with, as they cannot understand but knew something was wrong. The day before my return home, visited over the house and had the conversation with the wayward spouse. I set what I expect on the table. 1, she's to get a job. Enough living on my dime and saving the world one social program at a time. There will be no reconciliation for a year. 2, during this time, we're in counseling, individual and couple, so I can get answers as to why. Also because no matter what, we're tied together because of the kids and need to deal with each other. 3, there will be no physical contact. Bought a bunk bed for the 7-year-old room so she can move in, and I get the bedroom. Meanwhile, I get the couch, which is fine. 4, because of all this, she has caused me to question what relationships are. Not sure if this relationship is what I want or if wayward spouse is the right person for me anymore. I will date casually during this year if I choose. If she decides to do the same, we go straight to separation, amicably. 5, I will conduct myself with dignity and compassion. I could go scorched earth, but will not due to the damage it will cause the kids. She's now a secondary priority. Kids are my first and will remain so. I had a full confession out of both affair partner and wayward spouse, and even though there's still fog and shame, I know enough of what happened. Even if I don't know all the truth, I know enough to feel I'm right in my decisions. I also know that I will check the color if wayward spouse says the sky is blue for a long time to come. I made edits to this doc after falling asleep on it out of exhaustion. To all of you, thank you for support, wisdom, perspective, and reaching out. Stay strong, all of you. Wow, OP. I'm so sorry you've had to deal with all of this. This isn't at all how we envision relationships working out when we take our vows. You've definitely kept quite reserved throughout the process. You trusted your gut from the beginning. When couples want to spice up their sex life, transparency and trust are a necessity. Once you made your boundaries clear, she could have explored other spicy options that didn't involve a third party. In this case, I believe it was obviously just an excuse to cheat right in front of you. If she was so hell-bent on being with him or exploring that side of her, she should have been honest with you, as hard as those conversations are, and said that maybe this monogamy thing isn't for her. Sometimes people lose themselves and grow apart from their partners while in a marriage or relationship. Infidelity should never be something one turns to on the path of discovery. Communication and transparency are clear. You clearly don't want this to end, and you're doing the best you can to repair what was lost. Wishing you both all the best. And as always, thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. While you're at it, please let us know what you thought of today's content. See you soon.